Welcome, everyone, to the program. I'm Brian, and it is, can you believe Friday already? I can't believe Friday has gotten here pretty quick. We've got a lot to cover today. I am going to start with the Graham Platner story, but there's been a defection, and I don't mean Candace Owens, but there's been a defection to Russia from the United States, which I am going to cover in a little bit, so you will not want to miss that. And it's a big deal. So we'll get to all of that coming up. And Candace, I found out about this defection because Candace Owens went to Russia, and I'm going to talk about her trip to Russia later in the program. But there has been a defection, and I was in shock. In fact, someone that was very good friends with Steve Kane is the person who's defected to Russia, and I'm not kidding. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Welcome to the program, everyone. So Graham Platner is amazing. So the day before yesterday, this story was being hinted at without any details, and I mentioned it on yesterday's show, that there was going to be something new with Graham Platner, and this was going to be it. It was going to be the worst. And I'm thinking, well, what can be worse? Right? What can be worse than being a Nazi and having a Nazi tattoo? And the story came out courtesy of the New York Times, and I want to go through that. This is what they're doing with this guy, Graham Platner. They can't do anything about Tuesday's primary. He's on the ballot, okay? And he's still favorited to win. In fact, in the latest polls out of Maine, Graham Platner is polling to win the general election in November. So it looks to me like they're trying to get him to drop out. But this guy, he's got nothing to lose and nowhere to go. So he's not just going to drop out. Yeah, I can't imagine. Unless he gets a payday, and he may get a payday that we don't know about. Right? Like they bought off Bernie Sanders to drop out of running for president and endorse Hillary Clinton. Remember that? And that was when they paid off Bernie Sanders, that wasn't a secret. It was very open. It was on television. He went to the White House. Obama was president. Obama took him into a private meeting, into the Oval Office. He came out a little while later and endorsed Hillary Clinton. And next thing I know, he owns 5 houses. Bernie Sanders. I don't know. That was not a secret. It wasn't done in secret, and that's how Democrats are. But Graham Platner. I've been telling you guys with Graham Platner, what the Democrats were doing, it is not an accident that he's their guy. I'll just go over this quickly because I've talked about it a few times over the last week, but I want to mention it for those that may have missed. It's not an accident that they have this Nazi as the front runner in the Democrat primary for Senate in Maine, okay? And what I've been telling you guys, and I stand by this, is the Democrats are always experimenting with ways that they can get the white male vote back to the Democrat Party that's been lost to Trump. And they tried this with Tim Walz with Kamala Harris. They picked Tim Walz to be her running mate for 2 reasons. One, he's a corrupt public official who has this Medicare scam going on that people are making billions of dollars off of in Minnesota. And they hoped that if Tim Walz became vice president, he could bring that scam to every blue city, state, and county in America. But the other reason they picked him was they thought that this communist was your average American white guy and that white guys would connect with him. That's why I told you Kamala Harris called him Coach all the time. Oh, Coach Walz, what do you think, Coach Walz? And what's he coaching, right? The CCP spy cell in Minnesota? I mean, what's he coaching? And they kept showing him in front of this pickup truck with the hood up, like he was, I don't even know if he knows how to check the oil, or if it was even his pickup. But they thought, oh yeah, all the white guys will relate to him and go and vote for him. Well, obviously that didn't work. And with Graham Platner, these Democrats, and you hear this when I get the seminar callers. I pick these seminar callers up, and some of them are very good. Most of them are not. And one of the biggest reasons that they expose themselves is fake MAGA seminar. There was a guy at the very end of yesterday's show, and he was going somewhere using one of the things you can't say, so I had to let him go. But there was a seminar caller that called at the very end of yesterday's show, And, I could tell, first syllable, out of their mouth, I could tell. And one of the biggest tells, without getting too specific, because I don't want to give all my secrets of detection away, but one of the things is, since they're fake MAGA, fake Republicans, fake conservatives, they're pretending to be MAGA, pretending to be a Republican based on a stereotype that they have of Republicans. And that's why they all call in from Kentucky and they got all these accents and they're all good old boys. It's ridiculous. There's other things too that are tells. But they give themselves away because they don't really know what a conservative is. They just know what their stereotype is, which is a very negative stereotype is. And that's what the powers that be inside the Democrat Party did with Graham Platner, right? He is, in their mind, he is the perfect model of a modern MAGA general, right? Right? He's white. He's blue collar, which is not true. He's a bum who lives off of his mommy, but he, they got this oyster farm racket, narrative going, and he's a Nazi. So when MAGA, middle class white MAGA guys see Graham Platner, well, they're going to see them, and they're going to come back, and they're going to be Democrats again. That's really how this happened. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And that Nazi tattoo that he's blaming being drunk on. This is my experience throughout my life with alcohol. While I've never had a drinking problem, I used to drink, like any other young guy. I used to go out clubbing and drinking when I was younger. I'd go out drinking till 1 a.m., be on the air at 3 a.m. It'd be no problem. Sometimes 2 a.m. I would stay there till the club closed and went right to the radio station, And if you guys remember me doing overnights back then, the reason I did that, I didn't make much money. I was on the air overnights, and all the club managers, bar managers, and bouncers and everything would listen to the radio on the way home, so I could go to all the bars and clubs, no cover charge, drink for free. It was awesome. I don't drink now. But one thing I've learned, though, about people that do drink a lot, even alcoholics, okay? And Graham Platner says, oh, I didn't know I was drunk. My experience with people that are severely intoxicated is, and this is almost 100% true. There's always exceptions to the rule, but you know how it goes. What alcohol does is you just get to see what somebody's true character is. All of us, put up barriers, but when you are drinking alcohol, you lose your inhibitions, right? And you act like you really are. You get to see someone's true personality when they're intoxicated, okay? So that Nazi tattoo, he knew what he got, but let's say that he didn't if you bought his BS story, which I do not, okay? He had that tattoo for years and years and years. In fact, he still has it. He did get a tattoo over it to cover it up. But that was only when this campaign started and he got called out on it. He had that tattoo for many years, and he always goes around with his shirt off. Well, before he was running for Senate, he was always around with his shirt off. In fact, pretty much every photo or video you see of him before he was running for the Senate, he's got his shirt off, including the one of him in the towel on, what was that kick that he's on? And you can see the Nazi tattoo and all these things. So if he didn't know what it was when he got it, I promise you he found out soon after, either by being told or just looking it up and wondering, what is this big tattoo I have, right? Come on, give me a break. Give me a break. So we're going to take our first break. When we get back, I'll go through some of the details of these news stories about Graham Platner, and then I'll also get into some other things. There's a lot going on. But it is Friday, and Friday is Open Phones, Open MAGA Mike Friday. You're welcome to call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. You don't even have to comment on the topics that we bring up. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-COCAINE-1. This is the
your alarm and smart devices. Imagine pulling up to your home and your lights turn on, your door unlocks, no keys, no hassle, just total convenience. And for a limited time, you get it all for just $24.95 a month. You'll get an all-in-one facial recognition door lock and doorbell camera, an outdoor camera, plus the Sloman Shield home security system. That includes an LED keypad, 3-door or window contacts, a motion detector, and battery backup, all professionally installed. Smarter security, easy living, great peace of mind. Call 833-283-5050 right now. That's 833-283-5050. But don't wait. This limited time offer won't last.
When you need lab work, don't waste hours and hours waiting at the doctor's office or one of those big labs. Go to any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs. Their prices are guaranteed to be the lowest you'll find anywhere. No appointment, doctor's order, or prescription is needed, and you're in and out in 15 minutes or less. They offer every lab and blood work your doctor can order. They even have drug testing and STD testing. Take control of your health.
Hey guys, hang in there. Hold on.
Now of Boca and any lab test now
We'll be
of
back
Coral
shortly.
Springs. There's lots of any lab test nows around, but these are the only two advertising on our radio station. So don't use the rest. Only go to any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs. And make sure you tell them you heard about them on the radio.
Do you suffer from neuropathy? I did until I went to Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in my hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching have all but disappeared. Say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. Call Lighthouse Medical Center for a free consultation. 754-222-6642. Tell them Steve Kane sent you.
On the line is Jamie Leback from Swift Tax. You know, Jamie, a lot of people missed the tax deadline on April 15th. Not only is it not too late for them to file, but they may have, with the new tax code, a huge refund coming that they're leaving on the table, right?
Absolutely, Brian. If you haven't filed your taxes and you've been avoiding it because you're worried about penalties and late fees, if you are anticipating a refund, give me a call. There's a good chance there is a substantial amount of money left on the table for you.
Hey guys, welcome.
And this is your money. You worked hard for it. Give me a call anytime. Jamie Leback, Swift Tax.
Yeah, and remember, Jamie Leback can help you with your taxes no matter where you are located in the United States. Give him a call right now, 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, and anywhere in the world at TrueOldiesFLA.com.
All righty, 18 minutes after the hour. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Is the delay on, Mike? Because I'm going to go to the phones. Okay, get ready because we've been having phone problems. Okay. Oh man, I'm at the radio station today, and the last few times we've had some issues, mostly my fault, but I think we've got it worked out. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. And I'm going to tell you who this is out the gate because somebody might bring this up. But when I started the show and said a friend of Steve Kane, yeah, they've not talked in many, many years, but a former friend of Steve Kane's defected to Russia. I'm not kidding. I'm talking about Rick Sanchez. You guys remember Rick Sanchez from WSVN Channel 7? He interviewed Candace Owens yesterday in St. Petersburg, Russia, and he works for Russia Today, that Putin television network, Rick Sanchez. And I've not thought or heard anything about Rick Sanchez in many years. And when I saw that, it was hard to recognize him because he's had so much cosmetic work that I was like, I recognized the voice right away, but he looks a lot different because of the cosmetic work, Rick Sanchez. But he's been working for Putin's Russia Today since 2019. But last year, Rick Sanchez moved to Moscow. He moved to Moscow last year. So he has defected to Russia. And I'm going to talk about that later in the show, the Candace Owens, Rick Sanchez interview, because it's a very troubling interview. And plus, he's one of the most infamous people that have in the entire Miami television market. Remember his DUI leaving the Dolphin game? Oh, anyone remember? Oh, yeah. I'll talk about that later because it's a good story. But first, let's take some calls. Yeah, 888-465-2631. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. I don't know if the callers can hear me, Mike. We're going to find out. Hold on. Which one? The DL? Why don't you come to? I don't know. I can't. I don't know which one. Okay. That's okay. I don't mind technical problems. It lets everyone know we're live. That's all. I don't mind at all. I don't care. As long as we're on the air, that's all that matters. Okay, there we go. The DL. Okay. Oh, it's called. Is that the OL? Yeah. Oh, it's the OL, not the DL. Okay. All right. We'll try it again. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? I don't know. Doesn't sound like it's working. Let me try this one. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. I hope you have a great weekend with Kathy and your daughter.
Yes.
I want to get that out of the way. Rick Sanchez, by the way, back in the, back in the 80s, I hung out with a guy that used to be Rick Sanchez's boss out of Houston, Texas. Rick, before he came to Miami, and he said he was a total jerk, and nobody liked him. I'm just so, and this guy.
Well, Steve Kane liked him because they were friends. He used to come to Steve's house and watch football on the weekends. You know?
Nobody liked him on the job. Nobody.
Do you remember the DUI story? This was great. Well, no, it's a little. Let me tell you. See if you remember this. And of course, remember the wiretap with the talking to the organized criminal, right? The mobster. Oh yeah. They had him on a wiretap talking to some organized criminal operator when he was on channel. Oh my good. No, he was leaving a Dolphin game, and he hit someone who he ended up paralyzing. And the person died a few years later. He hit a young guy. He hit the guy drunk. So cops stopped him for being drunk. And the guy ended up being paralyzed. You don't remember what the cops did with Rick Sanchez?
No.
Oh, this was crazy. By the way, his drunk driving attorney was Richard Essen, another friend of Steve Kane's. Steve's going to love this. I'm going to be in big trouble today. But when he hit the guy leaving the Dolphin game, cops thought he was drunk, and he said, "Oh, I don't have my driver's license. Can I go home and get my driver's license?" And they let him leave the scene. And some of the next part, I don't know if I can say on the air. Okay, I'll have to run it by Steve if Steve's still talking to me after I talk about his association. But they let him leave the scene, and he went home. And when he came back, he was, obviously very drunk, but they couldn't prove that he was drunk at the time of the accident. He told them when he got home to get his driver's license, he was so upset about the accident, he drank a whole six-pack. And so so he got away with it, and because they couldn't prove he was drunk at the time of the accident, Rick Sanchez. Plus, he had that organized criminal thing. He was talking on that wiretap to the guy. He had that, and then he was finally let go when he talked about how the media is controlled by the Jews. Remember that? When he was on CNN. Oh my goodness! So yeah, and now he's in Moscow. Yeah.
Florida. Yeah, back then, South Florida had a lot of elderly Jewish people in Miami Beach.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was on CNN when he made that comment about the Jews and the media, and he got fired from CNN for that, and that was the last we heard of Rick Sanchez.
Well, I really called to give an answer that I had to hold up because it was open for Friday. I want to speak directly to Doc, who hasn't called, and I'm so happy he hasn't called.
He called yesterday. Oh, you mean not today? Oh.
I hope he's listening. Doc, you asked Brian, why do you vote for Trump? What is it with you voting for Trump? I'm going to explain why Brian and I and other people vote for Trump. It's not that we think we're better than anybody else, but I'm not for having fuzzy characters and perverts in the White House on Easter Sunday, and men dressed like women, and on the most religious holiday Christians could have, Easter Sunday, Biden invited them to the lawn. I mean, and I saw that and I said, this country is becoming totally perverted. I don't support that sort of thing. You brought up this war that we have to get out of. Brian and I don't know if we agree on the war. I think President Trump should have never stopped. I think he's being played. The longer this goes on, gives the Democrats more talking points, like at the hearings that I watch. I'm watching this stuff go on. I'm a hawk. I believe that we should take out that regime, but a lot of people don't believe it. I believe that it's like pulling away from Germany in World War II and letting the SS still survive. I don't believe it. I think you got to take them all out. And I don't care how you got to do it. If you have to arm the people, do it. But this regime, you can't deal with them because.
Well, yeah, President Trump, after the bottom of the hour, I'll go over this, but in his press conference yesterday in the Oval Office, Trump dropped something really big about what the negotiation's about in detail, and I'll get into that later. And you talk about Doc. I know a lot of you guys know I do an afternoon show and weekend shows, and I take live calls like I do here, right? Doc called me up on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. Did you hear this call when he was in the motel room?
No.
Oh my gosh. He called me. It was this was on my podcast. He called me and he said he wasn't in Texas. He was, I can't remember where he said he was, Louisiana or something. And he was in a motel room. And he had a lady friend next to him in bed in the motel room. So, you guys can go back and listen to that call, but it was, he was revealing, it was a very interesting call. It was a very interesting call.
Doc basically is a conservative living person. His politics might be left wing, I don't know. But as a conservative black man, you should want to vote.
No, I'll tell you what Doc is. Doc is a black racist. He doesn't like white people, and he identifies Republicans as white. And he thinks that we're like white. They got a Nazi running, but we're the white nationalist, right? So it's his bigotry against white people that has him talking the way he does.
What you're saying is it's the barbershop stuff that goes on in the black neighborhoods, to talk in the barbershop. One last thing. Michael Francisi, who you know who that is, he showed Hollywood, Florida. He showed the Gold Coast restaurant. You remember the Gold Coast restaurant on Hollywood Beach? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the big mob hangouts in Florida.
Yeah.
The whole bit.
Yes.
It was shown. I remember when he had his car and he drove it into the Intercoastal with his dog, and that somebody saved him and his dog. He lost the car. Yeah, he was like about 75 years old. He drove right into the Intercoastal from the parking lot. Mm-hmm. But that was a big mob place, and Florida was full of mobsters back at.
Oh yeah, do you know who used to listen to us? That mobster that De Niro played in Casino. He was retired here in South Florida, and he used to listen. He used to listen to us. Yeah, I can't remember what his real name is. The guy that De Niro played in Casino.
And your nighttime places that you went after work that you mentioned, one of them was you broadcast, I believe, from the Button. And you also, the strip joint
The strip joint?
Allendale? Yeah, there was a strip joint. Weren't you guys broadcasting from a strip joint? Am I wrong? I might have you mixed up. The Button in Hallandale at the time?
Oh, the Button South? Did we do it? The Button South was not a strip club. It was oh, no, we didn't do we did not do a live broadcast from a strip club.
Crazy spot.
We did some things that are borderline to that, but not, no.
You did the one in Fort Lauderdale. I remember you and Steve. He was a member of that private club in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, the Swingers Club, Plato's Repeat. Yes, we did do a thing. Yes.
So you guys really
yes.
Anyway, have a great weekend.
All right.
Please become a Republican.
All right. You take care, Richie. All right. It is open phones. If you're on hold, stand by. Our number is toll free 888-465-2631. It looks like we got all the technical problems fixed. That's great. That's awesome. All right. We'll take our break for the bottom of the hour. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm going to get into some of the details, though, with the latest stuff on Graham Platner. And this interview that I was talking about with the very infamous Rick Sanchez with Candace Owens yesterday was very disturbing. So I'm also going to get into that and a whole bunch more. All right, it's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Back after this.
Making morning radio great again. You're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. From the all-year cooling weather center, South Florida's #1 choice for same-day AC service and installation. Here's your oldies forecast.
Well, with all the rain we've been having the last few days, we have a nice Friday and Saturday ahead. Sunny to partly cloudy today, breezy with a high in the middle 80s, overnight low in the upper 70s. Saturday, very slight chance of showers, a high in the upper 80s and the overnight low in the upper 70s.
Weather brought to you by All Year Cooling. Enjoy free AC replacement estimates along with same-day service and installation. Visit allyearcooling.com to schedule your service today. And remember, the All Year family is here to serve your family all year long. And now, a true oldies traffic check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
No accidents or roadblocks to speak about from Jupiter all the way down to North Palm Beach. However, construction in Palm Beach County, I-95 northbound, that's mile marker 71, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. Use caution in that area. From the traffic center, I'm Ray Thomas.
That's your traffic brought to you by PBKC. It's a big week at PBKC. Watch, wager, and win on exciting OTB action, including the thrilling finale of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes, this Saturday. Make reservations today for the Paddock Restaurant with over 140 HD TVs, 3 big screens, great food, cold drinks, and all the racing and sports action you can handle. Don't miss Belmont Day this Saturday at PBKC. For details on events, dinner shows, and more, go to pbkennelclub.com.
Open enrollment may be over, but that doesn't mean your Medicare questions are. If you're turning 65, new to Medicare, moving, or qualifying for a special enrollment period, you may still have options. Don't guess when it comes to your healthcare coverage. Call Debbie at I Will Advisors at 954-753-8080. That's 954-753-8080. She'll walk you through your Medicare Advantage, your supplements, and your prescription drug plans. Then help you find coverage that fits your needs and your budget. You don't have to figure this out alone.
All right.
954-753-8080. That's 954-753-8080. Debbie can help you with your Medicare no matter where you're located in the state of Florida. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080. I Will Advisors, helping you make Medicare simple.
Hi, Tom Laporta here. We are Laporta Roofing, a family business since 1983. You are our customer. In other words, our boss. We are here for and because of you, not the other way around. The 2026 rainy season is upon us. Because we haven't had a hurricane in 2 years, all the storm chaser roofing companies have gone out of business, leaving only the strongest and the best contractors. At Laporta Roofing, we will never sell you a roof you don't need. We don't have salesmen or commissions, so we will never pressure you to sign a contract. Also, deposits are not required. At Laporta Roofing, you will always come first. We must earn your trust, and we will. So call me on my cell at 954-604-4602 or find us on the web at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, or on the web at laportaroofing.com.
Now, back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig, celebrating 49 years on the air.
All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right, Upper Arlington. Oh, yeah, okay. What's up, Brian from Upper Arlington?
Yeah, how you doing?
All right.
No, I don't know if you saw this in Ohio yesterday, but they caught up with the whole fraudsters, the frauding that was going on in the Somalian community. It was amazing.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. You've called before, right? Because the Upper Arlington, I remember. Have you called me before? Yeah, my grandparents lived in Upper Arlington, right? And I lived down the street from where you're at when I was in Columbus. And Columbus has become, from what I understand, a Somali city, right? I mean, it's very bizarre.
Second largest in Minnesota.
Oh my goodness! I mean, I don't know what's happened to Columbus, Ohio. I saw that, that they had that huge bust, and then they announced their most wanted Medicaid fraud list, like the top 10 most wanted list. And, they do say, I've seen this reported, that the average Somali IQ is like 68. It's a low IQ. These are not the masterminds. They're just the front men for the operation. And out of all the arrests, when's Ilhan Omar going to get picked up? And when are we going to get the real ringleaders, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who is behind that in the state? I thought they picked off 2 people within the state who was helping this along, but I didn't catch that quite so closely.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, no, they're doing good. I mean, people are getting arrested. Ever since Todd Blanche became Attorney General, things have been happening. None of these arrests, like including the ones in Ohio yesterday, would not have happened if Pam Bondi was still the Attorney General. I don't think at all.
Yeah.
All right, well, Nell, I appreciate the call. All right, you take care. All right. I did.
Your show, thanks.
Well, thank you. I like you listening. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Doc from Texas.
Oh, hey, Doc.
Hey, man. How you this morning?
I'm doing all right. How's your lady friend that was in the motel with you?
I don't know. She's at work. She's at work this morning.
Oh, okay.
She's at work this morning.
Okay.
Okay. How's your wife doing?
She's doing well, thank you.
Okay. Hey, quick question. Hey, there's an echo.
Yeah, I know. I guess we still got it. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, look. The thing with Graham Platner, I think...
Graham Cracker? It's Platner.
Platner. Okay. Anyway, I was listening to the interview last night. The bottom line, Brian, at this point, let the people... I think it's Michigan. That's where you're running at.
No, you don't know his name or even his state. Graham Platner. He's running as a Democrat. He's the front runner in Maine.
Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know.
Okay, but do you think the Democrats should drop him being a Nazi and all?
Brian, let the system...
Let the system?
...itself out. If they want him in there, if people, whoever he's running for, let him run.
I mean, I tell you, good. I'm going to hang up on you. This guy, it really shows you he's going to hang up on me. No, I hang up on you. It doesn't. This thing with Doc, the other people didn't complain. Just I think he's using it as a tactic to get out of, having to say anything. I want you to think about this, right? He doesn't know Graham Platner's name. He sounded like he called him Graham Cracker, because he's used him as a cracker. He doesn't know what state he's in. He does know that he's a Nazi, but all he knows is that he's a Democrat. He might be a Nazi, but he's a Democrat. So let the system work it out. Let the system. Well, this national discourse is the system. Do you think that Doc and these Democrats, if we had a Republican running for the Senate somewhere who had a Nazi tattoo, do you think they'd let the voters decide, let the system work it out? Of course not. It would be an indictment against all Republicans, and every time there was a press conference, President Trump would be asked to condemn or disavow them, right? All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Ben from Pompano.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, so, I wasn't going to call in today, but I heard Doc call in. And I gotta, he reminds me of? He reminds me of my mom's dog because he only has like a few behaviors that he repeats over and over again. And outside of that, he has no other personality. He calls in, he says your name over and over and over when he disagrees. He reflexively disagrees. And then every time he introduces himself, he asks about your family.
Yes.
Like he actually cares.
Exactly.
It's this fake pleasantry, like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, we're going to pretend you're not going to just violently, disagree with everything after you ask how my wife is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying. And I don't know. Doc.
Well, what he said in his call, though, what he said in his call, though, he doesn't know his name. He doesn't know what state he's in. He knows he's a Nazi, but he knows he's got a D next to his name. So because of that, it's okay. The system will work it out.
Yeah, the system worked out getting Trump in the office. Is that
exactly?
Now, the system's just always just works. And this isn't really a system. I mean, think about it. It just goes to show you that the Democrats don't care about making people's lives better. They don't care about their principles. They don't care about the things that they accuse Trump of. They just care about power. Is that the system he's for? Because that's what's being supported with the Graham Platner. Is the system supposed to support people who abuse women or, who
Well, I got to tell you, this story, I'm going to go through one of them. You know, the story in the New York Times about his treatment of women, it's not good, but it really pales to the Nazi thing, right? You know, I mean, I don't know why they think this is what's going to turn people. He didn't beat anybody up. He grabbed one of his girlfriends by the wrist and pulled her out of a doorway. He took another girl, forced her to go into a room and stay there till she cooled off. I'm not saying any of it's good behavior. It is abusive behavior, but it's being the Nazis worse, and they, yeah.
It's like Andrew Cuomo when he killed a bunch of elderly people during COVID by putting infected elderly senior citizens into nursing homes. Thousands of people died, but then the Democrats only got upset with him when it came out he got a little handsies.
He was flirting with an aide during COVID. He was under lockdown with her, and he, was getting turned on.
Line that can't be crossed with Democrats. And
heterosexuality? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
Yes.
So, but the tattoo is people don't understand how very specific that tattoo. It's not just any Nazi tattoo. The Toppenkopf was used in Germany and even in Prussia. They've had many variations of it, but the very specific graphic design style that he has on his chest was very specifically meant for not only the SS, but the regiment of the SS that oversaw the concentration.
The worst of the worst Nazis. The Nazis that the other Nazis were afraid of. They were the worst of the worst.
You got to have a really specific knowledge to choose that, and then keep it for 18 years. It's not just a random swastika. It's a more specific.
And then last night on MS Now, Chris Hayes did this suck up interview with Graham Platner. I'm going to play some of the clips. I can't believe that was allowed. I mean, it was so. I don't know if you guys did you catch any of it? It was so bizarre. You'll hear some of it on the show later.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Graham Platner really. I mean, I think it's just going to be Democrats are going to be very predictable in that they're going to pretend they're all high moral and they care about all these issues. But then when it comes down to actually showing it, they're going to go with the Nazi.
Always.
It's going to be part of the squad in the Senate. And it's just, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
All right. All right. Appreciate the call, Ben. I got to run. There's Democrats are not new to this. Remember they had Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd, who died when Obama was president. He was the senior Democrat in the Senate, Robert Byrd. And he was openly a Klansman. And he wasn't just a regular Klansman. He was something called a Grand Kleagle, which is above Grand Dragon. And when he died, President Obama, Clinton, and Biden all were at his funeral eulogizing him. It was crazy. We had our first black president of the United States eulogized a Klansman. And many believe that Robert Byrd, his closed casket, was buried in his Klan sheets. That was talked about at the time. I'm serious. Democrats have a history of supporting Nazis and Klansmen. That's right. If you're on hold, hang in there. Do you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy? Listen, Lighthouse Medical, I've told you guys, this month is 4 years since they gave Steve his life back and rid him of his neuropathy. Neuropathy, as it gets worse, it destroys your life. It takes not only your quality of life away from you, you're not able to do anything. You're not able to go out. You're not able to travel. You're not able to go to the mall. You're not able to go out to eat. You may not even be able to get out of bed and walk across the room without falling down. And it's incredibly painful as well. Call Lighthouse Medical. They have a treatment for neuropathy that works. I've seen it work not just in Steve Kane, but with many of our listeners. Imagine being able to drive again. Get your life back. Call Lighthouse Medical. Make sure you mention you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of their no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. And I'll tell you, Steve saw results after his first treatment. So think about it. You're suffering from neuropathy. You want to go on vacation this summer, and you can't because of your neuropathy? Go over to Lighthouse Medical. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. All right, we'll take our last break of the first hour and be right back.
The cold, hard truth. Delivered morning 6 to 9 right here on The Steve Kane Show.
Everyone is looking for natural, clean products these days. H2 Ocean is your natural sea mineral-based healing product that is backed by science and the sea since 2001. The original inventor of clean health and wellness products for your first aid needs uses the powers of the Red Sea that contains 82 trace minerals and natural antibacterial enzymes that your body needs for strengthening your immune system. We've got you and your family covered from burns, cuts, dry eyes, oral care, hair care, reef-safe sun care, and even for your pets. Find us at h2ocean.com or vetaidproducts.com. That's h2ocean.com, your first in first aid.
It's Brian. Have you ever noticed that every morning I'm alert, wide awake, and well-rested? That's thanks to Mike Lindell's MyPillow. With the MyPillow, I sleep comfortably and deeply each and every night. And right now, you can get the MyPillow for just $19.98 with our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, at MyPillow.com. Just $19.98, and you'll get the best night's sleep you've ever gotten. Promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout at MyPillow.com. You can also order by phone toll-free, 1-800-716-4879.
Hi, I'm Sloan Smith. At All Year, we offer same-day AC and plumbing service and installation. Zero down financing? Yes, all year. Need help today? Yes, all year. Need plumbing help? Yes, all year. Call us today at 833 All Year. That's 833 All Year.
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Sandra. I'm calling from Delray Beach. The Barry Siegel Law Group did such wonderful work for me, and I was very particular. I'm a professional myself, and I went to about 3 or 4 attorneys prior. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. They didn't want to add anything extra, but Barry tailored it to my needs. And it's not only the trust. There's so many other end-of-life documents, the living will, the will, and I tailored each one of them to my liking, and they were wonderful and always, always polite. And not only that, when you finish your documents and you leave this world, your beneficiaries could go there and they'll explain everything to them, which is a big deal. The Siegel Group is above and beyond any other attorney that I have ever contacted. Plus, they give you a big portfolio at the end with a leather-bound documents. It's beautiful.
Give the Siegel Law Group a call, 855-FLA-3782, 855-FLA-3782, and online, SiegelLawGroup.com.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show is on the air.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, we'll see. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
First thing I got to tell you is, man, you're 100% right, 1,000% right. The liberals don't like this idea that DeSantis is trying to lower our taxes. So I says, well, what's the problem? The first guy tells me, well, there's no money. I says, no. When DeSantis took over, it was $30 billion. Now it's $60 billion. So don't you think we have enough money? Prices went up a little, not that much. Oh, school teachers don't have any money. They how are they going to get a raise? I says, if you cut down all this waste of spending that we have, well, but the other guy says, oh, don't you know that it's going to increase rent? I says, what are you talking about? That has nothing to do with rent. Oh, yes, it does. These local governments are going to be quick to reassess everybody across the board, and now the rents will go up for people because they're...
Well, you know, someone reached out to me. Yes, I'm not going to say who this was. Somebody reached out to... I told them I'm not going to do this, of course, but someone reached out to me yesterday afternoon, and they were talking about what I was... You know, I remember I had a conversation with that cop yesterday that called me from the cruiser, and then he ran like a... and I was talking about the take-home cars. They told me, don't talk about that. All the cops are going to vote against it in the state because they're afraid of their take-home cars. Anyone who works for the government, the school teachers, most cops are liberal, like every other government worker, okay? Most of them are. I mean, people think they're all conservative. That you could not be further from the truth than that. In fact, I was watching Libs of TikTok, had a video of a police officer who, not a South Florida police officer, somewhere else in the country, who has a rainbow button on their police uniform while they're on duty, and they go around and find local businesses that are safe for the LGBTQ community. So most cops around the country are liberal, okay? But I can't help that. I got to tell people, when I realized that my mother and myself, my in-laws, and so many people are going to have no taxes when it comes to property taxes when this is over. And it's in a two-phase thing. Like 80% of people will have no taxes on their house in the first wave, and most of the rest of the people will have no taxes when the second wave gets factored in. They're not going to hit it all at once so that the governments don't, get cut off too quick. But, even Steve's going to have, when the second phase comes in, Steve's going to have zero taxes on his house, and big deal.
I said, not only that, I heard DeSantis say if there's a shortfall, that the state will kick in the money that's missing. So there's no loss. So, but
DeSantis, I heard him talk about the turnpike tolls a couple weeks ago, and he said that Floridians shouldn't have to pay turnpike tolls, that the turnpike tolls should only be paid by tourists. I like that.
Well, that's another thing. That always bothered me. I says, because there's no plates. There's no people to give money to. Yeah, it just goes by place. Everybody out of state doesn't pay the tolls. They just go right through it, and when they get a bill, they say, yeah, get out of it, throw it away. Meanwhile, the Floridians are only paying.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, don't get into the express lane without the sun pass. If you go through the express lane without a sun pass and you get the toll by plate, it's much higher. Oh my goodness, I couldn't get. I was going down 95, and they've got like an express lane when you get down towards West Palm or Delray, like around Delray, Boynton, and there was so much traffic I couldn't get right. I had no choice but to get in the express lane. I got a big old fine for that, for not having the sun pass, a big one. It was a lot. Oh my goodness, yeah.
I'm telling you. So the one liberal was saying, well, certainly. To do this right, there should have been the original way. Just have no taxes, period. Not that this.
Well, it's only on your homesteaded property. So commercial property and second homes, rental property, all that stuff will still have taxes on it.
I'm certainly hope so. You were just talking about the cops. I just got to tell you something quick, and then we'll go. Did you see that idiot cop that pulled the woman over for driving with a phone in her right hand, and she says to him, I didn't have a phone in my right hand.
Yes.
Yes, she did. I saw you. And she picks her arm up and she has no hand.
Yes.
And he still gives her a ticket.
Well, sometimes they lie. I mean, if you remember when I got a ticket for not wearing glasses once, which is a I got pulled over by a lying cop, Palm Beach deputy. He said I ran through a stop sign. And I said, not only did I not run the stop sign, I stopped extra long because I saw you parked watching the stop sign. And I wear reading glasses, but I have perfect vision far away. I remember I had LASIK vision correction, and I didn't get my driver's license updated. So it's the driver's license said I needed to wear glasses, even though I had perfect vision. So he wrote me a ticket, which I found out was a misdemeanor. So I had to get an attorney, which I didn't have. We did a trade thing at the radio station, so I didn't have to pay the attorney. But I had to get a note from my LASIK doctor, the surgeon, and go to court and everything else. So, it's not that I'm anti-cop, but most of them are liberal.
They come up with some real. Sometimes there shouldn't be cops, but this is what we have. Anyway, I'm telling you, man. I'm hoping that this is going to go through because everybody, I think, is going to be happy if it does. But tough battle.
Mm-hmm.
Tough battle. We'll keep telling everybody it's okay.
Yep. All right. Appreciate the call. Yeah. In fact, I remember when I got that ticket for not wearing glasses, I got a call from a guy who he got community service hours for driving without glasses. Can you believe that? I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it's a misdemeanor. I didn't, like I said, it was totally tossed out because I got the note from the doctor, had a very good attorney, and not Rick Sanchez's DUI attorney, but somebody almost as good. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your name? Yes, you're on the air.
It's David.
All right, David, speak up.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, boy. You sure the delay's on my... All right, what's on your mind, David?
Oh, I was just about to say I'm like anarchist and don't really appreciate the whole entire divide between the Republicans and Democrats. I think that...
You're an anarchist?
Yes, sir.
So like, how do you live? Like, how do you pay your bills? Live with your parents? How do you pay your bills?
No, personally, I go to work and I pay my bills.
Well, then you're not an anarchist. You're part of society.
Unfortunately, but...
Unfortunately? Well, I mean, what kind of... Come on. I mean, before I continue this conversation, are you serious or are you just, like, lonely and looking to have a conversation? Are you serious about being an anarchist?
No, sir. No, 100%.
Tell me what your ideal anarchist society is.
One not led by a government.
No government? Well, how would that work if there was no government? How would that work?
Down with the tyrant.
Well, I'll tell you, if you really want to live in an anarchy, there's places you can do that, you know. You could go to Haiti. You could move to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Haiti's an anarchy. Yeah. They have a prime minister down there. He's a cannibal, but he's just like a tribal chief. It's an anarchy. Yeah, Haiti. Port-au-Prince, you could go to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and it's an anarchy. Yeah, you'd love it. Now, you might be the only white guy down there, but it's an anarchy.
Sir, I never specified my race.
Well, really, what's your skin color?
Brown.
Brown. Okay, well then you'll fit in. You know, you're not white, and it's an anarchy. All right, take care. Take care. Hey, can you do me a favor? I want you to do me a favor.
Yeah, what's up?
Never call me again. All right. All right. Take care. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine. Was that last guy stoned or what?
I don't know. Yeah. Do you really think he's not white? That guy's as white as I am. Come on.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, name the top Democrat they have. I'll wait. We'll be waiting forever because they got nobody. They're running people like Graham Platner, for God's sakes. The Democrat Party has imploded. They have failed. They are on their last leg. I am so thankful for President Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And that stuck through what he's gone through to become president again, and saving America. And
see, what we really want Graham Platner to win. That's right. Just the primary, not the general, just the primary.
Correct. Maine. I believe Maine is getting sick and tired of the Democrats, and it's happening across all blue states. California, I think that Steve Hilton can win.
Well, I don't know. I haven't talked too much about California. I'm kind of waiting until things are announced. They're supposed to get a big vote dump today. And who knows? Spencer Pratt may be in third place when the dump comes in. It's amazing how all the absentees they seem to go in one direction.
There's one thing I wanted to say was, the best Democrat they got is Fetterman. Fetterman is the most moderate Democrat they got.
No, do not trust Fetterman. He votes 100% with the Democrats. He always, and when it comes, he votes with maybe 90-something%. I'm gonna get excited, but almost over 90% of the time he votes with the Democrats. And he comes off television very reasonable. That's an act. You cannot trust Fetterman. He's in a red state, Pennsylvania, and he thinks he's going to run for president down the road, I think, and he's trying to be the reasonable Democrat. So when he runs for president, that's what I think. You can't trust. I know he sounds good on television and says all the right things, but when it comes to the votes, he votes with the Democrats most of the time.
Because he does try to sound reasonable.
It's a trick. All right, listen, we're up against the break, but I appreciate the call, Jeff. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. It is Open Phones on Friday, Open Mega Mike Friday. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back right after this.
Center. Code Red Roofers. Roofers who respond. Call 844-4CODE-RED. CodeRedRoofers.com. Here's your oldies forecast.
Well, with all the rain we've been having the last few days, we have a nice Friday and Saturday ahead. Sunny to partly cloudy today, breezy with a high in the middle 80s.
What's that?
In the upper 70s.
No, I didn't see it because I just saw it a minute ago because this was covering it up. So I'll do it this hour.
We'll do this one, then we have one at 8 o'clock.
Okay, I'll do it this hour. Yeah, I just saw it. Yeah. Yeah, I probably need to move that over. Is that okay? Yeah, because I missed. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll put under the Sloans then, just so it's like
okay.
True Oldies Traffic Check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Vehicle crash, Palm Beach County, I-95 southbound, south of Woolbright Road. Mile marker 56 in Boynton Beach, no roadblock mentioned. Also a vehicle crash on the Turnpike southbound, mile marker 75, Glades Road in Boca Raton with no roadblock as well. From the Traffic Center, I'm Ray Thomas.
That's your traffic brought to you by PBKC. It's hot hands and cool cash this month in the poker room at PBKC. Don't miss exciting daily tournaments, including the $100,000 guaranteed Boston multi-flight
Just Doc. Nobody else. But so I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
hands hit every 15 minutes from 9 a.m. to midnight. $100,000 progressive weekends, a $15,000 cash giveaway, and non-stop table game action. And all the details now at pbkennelclub.com.
On the line, we have Gina. She's a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. So you went and met with Joe Thomas about annuities. Can you tell me about your experience?
I can't say enough good things about my experience with Joe Thomas. He's a straight shooter. He tells it like it is. He talks in plain language so that you know, because I didn't know anything about this stuff when I retired. So I walked into his office and immediately I felt comfortable. And I said, look, please guide me in the right direction. And he sure did. And I'm very happy that I went there. And I even got my mother to join too. Now I feel comfortable that I'm set and I don't have to worry about running out of money.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than running out of money before you run out of life. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call and schedule your no-charge consultation. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999 and online, jupiterjoe.com.
Hi, it's Dr. Philip Appleton. You've been hearing my commercials about bye-bye pain, my laser weight treatment, but today's commercial and today's spot is going to be on Tom Laporta, Laporta Roofing. What an experience I've had with him and his company. They've done a few of my friends' houses and my son and my house. There's never a downtime. They're old school, which means call them up, they'll be there. How many times have you called somebody up and they never show up or they give you an excuse? Weather, traffic, whatever. Tom Laporta, what a class act. The workmanship, the magnificent teamwork they have. I recommend them 100%.
Give Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing a call. This number rings directly to his cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. 954-604-4602. LaportaRoofing.com. They'll never sell you a roof you don't need.
On the air since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right, Hour number 2 has begun. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. Today is Friday. It's always open phones on Friday. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday, and you can call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. The show prep is up to you and the listening audience. You don't even have to comment on the topics that we bring up. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. So I want to go through this story on Graham Platner with the ex-girlfriends. And nothing's good. I mean, this guy doesn't have a single redeeming quality. It was originally in the New York Times, but the New York Times, it's like a 10,000-page article. I mean, come on. They're writing a novel. This is from the Daily Mail. Okay, it says here, Graham Platner's ex-girlfriends make explosive allegations against sex scandal-plagued Democrat. Okay, so let's go through this and see what they say. The Maine Democrat and Nazi, they leave Nazi out of this, but you know, who has been under fire over a sexting scandal, left a trail of bad impressions with women he dated from both Washington, D.C. and his home state of Maine. What is his D.C. connection? The women spoke about his aggressive behavior in an explosive piece in the New York Times. Lindsay described several instances of physical intimidation she experienced with Platner. She worked for the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is one of the most conservative think tanks in D.C. So why is this Democrat Nazi hooking up with a girl, going out with a girl from there? How'd that happen? She worked for the Conservative Heritage Foundation. She said the two were in a 2-year on-again, off-again relationship. Despite insisting that he never hit me, he never punched me, she says, Platner could become aggressive, particularly when alcohol was involved. She told the New York Times he would regularly grab her by the shoulders, sometimes leaving marks, and once pulled her from a taxi by her wrist during an argument. She also recalled an incident in which he twisted her arm behind her back, pushed her into a bedroom, and held the door shut, telling her to stay there until she was calm. Wait a minute. He pushed her into a bedroom, held the door shut, telling her to stay there until she was calm. You know, you can go to prison for that. That's what O.J. went to prison for. Well, he had a gun charge added to it. But when you're holding someone, you're going out with some girl, and you put her into a room and hold the door shut and won't let her out, you're holding her prisoner. You're holding that person prisoner. You can go to prison for that. Reflecting on the encounter, she said it hurt. She also told the New York Times, it didn't cause an injury, it didn't break my arm. She also described how he kept an AR-15 lying around his D.C. apartment and would sharpen an axe while watching television. In what was called a warrior ethos, she said he would fantasize about killing people he believed were somehow a threat to him. Yeah, that's a great guy. He would speak about rape in odd and disturbing ways. He said this a lot. This is his ex-girlfriend. If anybody ever broke in here, I would rape them, she recalled him saying. He added the act would not be in a sexual way and not in a gay way. Okay? He was like, I'd rape them to show them that I'm dominant, she said. She insisted to the New York Times that if Graham Platner were running as a Republican, she'd be doing the exact same thing. I know it looks like a bitter ex-girlfriend Republican trying to take down a Democrat. It has nothing to do with that, she says. Platner's campaign told the Daily Mail, he said, let's be clear, this is a lifelong GOP operative who dedicated her career to electing Republicans. Another ex-Maine Democrat named Ginny described Platner's behavior to the New York Times as reckless and unsettling. When I saw the old comments that he made online, she said, I recognized a version of him that I had experiences with. A third woman, a Maine Democrat who asked not to be named, described the candidate as charismatic at times, but also prone to heavy bouts of drinking. She said she felt like collateral damage. In a statement shared with the Daily Mail by his campaign, Platner noted, throughout his campaign, I've been open about what was a very dark period in my life where I struggled with undiagnosed PTSD, too often self-medicated with alcohol, and was a far from perfect boyfriend. All right. I take responsibility for all of that, he says. I wish I had been better. Any characterization beyond that is false and politically motivated, blah, blah, blah. During an okay, now, is this the bombshells that they have? I'm not saying that this is good behavior, especially grabbing the woman out of the taxi and holding her prisoner in a bedroom. These are not good things. Don't misunderstand me. But this isn't going to move the needle. I mean, if being a Nazi still has Jews like Schumer and Bernie Sanders endorsing, supporting, and campaigning for him, this isn't going to do much at all. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Am I missing something? Let me see here. There's another article in Breitbart. I mean, maybe Breitbart has some more details, because that is now, if it had not been for the Nazi stuff, but I'm very curious what he was doing in D.C. If it wasn't for the Nazi stuff, that would be, of course, a much bigger deal than it is to me. It just doesn't seem like that big of a deal in comparison to that. Hold on, let me try to find. Okay, here's a Fox News article on it. Let me see here. Fox News. Some of Maine Democrat Center candidates Graham Platner's ex-girlfriend spoke out in a damning report Thursday, which chronicled new allegations of rape fantasies, heavy drinking, and violent episodes. Well, the way they write it, it sounds much more, the Daily Mail was much more mild than that. And it goes through the same stories. Let me see here. Platner continues to be under fire for a chest tattoo used by Nazi death camp guards, alleged sexting of younger women, and publicly finding humor in a Taliban attack that killed a former Pennsylvania lieutenant gubernatorial candidate. One of his ex-girlfriends, Lindsay, told the New York Times the two met in 2013 when he was a student at George Washington University. And she was with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. But wait a minute, the other article said she was with the Heritage Foundation at the time. Now it says she was with the Chamber of Commerce at the time. Which is it? Maybe she's with Heritage Foundation now, but the way that the Daily Mail presented it, she was with the Heritage Foundation at the time. Lindsay recounted how Planter would poke fun at her chest tattoo. Okay, and told the New York Times that Platner explained that he and other members of his military unit chose the Nazi tattoo because of parallels between them and the death unit at the concentration camps, who were killers like them. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So Lindsay said that he knew what the tattoo was, and they got it on purpose because they wanted to be that. So he knew exactly what it was, according to her. Okay, so we got a little bit more from the Fox. She also recalled how the oyster farmer and veteran would sharpen his axe while watching television and ruminate about raping home invaders. Yeah, that's a strange thing. She also described a public encounter where he pulled her out of a taxi by her wrist during an altercation. And then he gave some more comments about PTSD. All right, now after the break, I'll get into some of the clips from that Chris Hayes interview. Chris Hayes, I've never seen someone do what Chris Hayes did last night, so we'll talk about that. Now, it's June, and of course Father's Day is this month, and guys, give your family the gift of you being here for many Father's Days to come, and go to Life Imaging FLA and get this free heart scan, okay? It's also June is National Cancer Survivor Month. Right. So when you're over there, make sure you ask about the cancer screening. What they're all about at Life Imaging FLA is early detection and preventative health. You find out about these things: heart conditions, blockage, plaque, other heart problems, cancers, tumors. You find out about all of this before you have what is the first sign of 30 to 40% of heart attacks, which is instant death. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan and you will be connected in seconds. They have locations in Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach County. All right, we'll take our first break at the 7 o'clock hour and be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. It's that time of year again. Hurricane season
safe and secure this summer. Call Code Red Roofers today for a complimentary roof inspection. Yes, Code Red Roofers will come and inspect your roof free of charge. A small repair or preventative measure could save you thousands down the line. Make sure your roof is ready for hurricane season with a free professional inspection from Code Red Roofers. The roofers who respond. Call 844-4-CODE-RED. That's 844-4-CODE-RED. CodeRedRoofers.com.
On the line is Jamie Levac from Swift Tax. You know, Jamie, a lot of people missed the tax deadline on April 15th. Not only is it not too late for them to file, but they may have, with the new tax code, a huge refund coming that they're leaving on the table, right?
Absolutely, Brian. If you haven't filed your taxes and you've been avoiding it because you're worried about penalties or late fees, if you are anticipating a refund, give me a call. There's a good chance there is a substantial amount of money left on the table for you. Again, this is your money. You worked hard for it. Give me a call anytime. Jamie Levac, Swift Tax.
Yeah, and remember, Jamie Levac can help you with your taxes no matter where you are located in the United States. Give him a call right now, 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. When it comes to dental work, there's no one better than Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. This is Richie the bus driver.
Yeah, this is Richie. Dr. Gupta. I go 139 miles to this guy. I had a broken tooth. He fixed it. It was supposed to be temporary. It lasted 2 years. He put dentures in my mouth that are a lot cheaper than anybody else. And he's excellent and no pain. I recommend this guy. To me, he's the best ever.
Go see Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. 954-922-4633. 954-922-4633.
Hi, I'm Sloan Smith. We love our Florida sunshine, but a hot house? Definitely not. At All Year, we offer same-day AC and plumbing service and installation. Zero down financing? Yes, all year. Need help today? Yes, all year. Need plumbing help? Yes, all year. We're South Florida's #1 for comfort because our family is serving your family all year. Call us today at 833-ALL-YEAR. That's 833-ALL-YEAR.
Hello, this is Mike at Friendly Tire. I've been in business 30 years at the same location and offering great deals on new and used tires. I have many suppliers. Whatever car or truck you have, I get you incredible deals on any tire. I also do tire repairs at very low prices. Give me a call. My number is 954-977-9445. I will give you a price over the phone on new and used tires. Again, my number is 954-977-9445. Thank you.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, and anywhere in the world at TrueOldiesFLA.com.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show. Okay, so I want to get into some of the sound bites. First, AOC was asked about Graham Platner yesterday.
The Democrats abandoned Graham Platner after these messages came out, these sexually explicit messages they sent to women.
You know, I haven't waded into that primary. I don't believe the primary has occurred yet. So I would kind of, you know, again, I don't wade in on that. I haven't waded in that race.
Oh, my goodness. You know, it really is so revealing when you hear what these leftists do. Right? They create these movements, the Me Too movement. And, of course, she was in on that bandwagon, AOC. If you remember, after January 6th, she was talking about how, you know, people were going to do things to her, even though she wasn't in the building and all of that. But do they really care about women being abused? You know, their whole thing was, women should be believed. So we have, 3 women, maybe 4, who are saying terrible and very frightening things about a very mean drunk who's also a Nazi, and she's not wading in on that? You know, with the Me Too movement, of which AOC and these leftists were all about, they didn't need to know anything other than a woman said that someone did something to her, and that was enough to send a guy to prison. I was like, look at Harvey Weinstein, total scumbag. But why are women going to casting calls in a hotel room? You know, I saw an interview with an actress from the 80s the other day. I can't remember her name. She's not that famous, but I remembered her. And she was talking about what happened to her in Hollywood. And she said, because I didn't go to the casting meetings in hotel rooms. She said, I'd still be working if I did. Right? But they said this happened, so that's all you need. You don't need, forget about evidence. You can care. Women should be believed, unless they're making allegations against Democrats. And, this is what happened with Bill Clinton. When the Monica Lewinsky story broke, it wasn't just Monica Lewinsky. Kathleen Willey, whose husband took his own life, they knew the president. She went to the White House to ask the president to get her a job, and he started feeling her up. Remember that? Juanita Broderick, all these, And the Lewinsky case, when that broke, and he said, I did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky, and then it turned out that he did. There was a front page USA Today story that said, sometimes lying is okay. And remember, the National Organization for Women, they were caught on tape laughing that they wouldn't take Paula Jones's calls. She was calling them for help, and they wouldn't take calls. Remember that? James Carville, who's in the news all the time back then, he was working for President Clinton. He says you take what was it? Was it a $50? He says you take a $50 bill to a trailer park, you come out with Paula Jones. Because it was a Democrat that was being accused of hurting women. And they don't care. They don't care about women. They don't care about women who are abused. It's just a tool that they use to try to destroy people politically. So this was Chris Hayes, who's one of the, I guess he's one of the primetime guys on MS Now. I've never liked this guy. To me, he's one of the phoniest liberals that's ever been on television. And I remember when he was new, Chris Hayes, on MSNBC, they ran this promo, and this is when they were all into that green garbage. Remember Bob Costas was doing he was doing a sports broadcast to candlelight in the studio. Can you remember that? During Green Week? Jeez. Even though all the equipment's running on electricity, they didn't have some lights on him, and he was surrounded by candles. It was like that police video with Sting. Remember that? So bizarre. And when they had their Green Week going on, they had this promo running with Chris Hayes, who interviewed Platner last night. And he was green. And it was a whole video showing him riding his bicycle to the MSNBC studios every day. Because he's a green guy. He doesn't take the limos, the SUVs, nothing. And I said, look at this guy. He's whiter than me. If this guy's riding his bicycle to work every day, shouldn't he have a bit of a tan? Shouldn't he at least be red in the face? Right? It's just a total fraud, Chris Hayes. So he has Graham Platner on, who's a Nazi. A woman told the New York Times, the liberal New York Times, that he pulled her out of a taxi cab by her wrist, and I'll tell you, if you were out and about and you saw a guy pull a woman out of a car by her wrist, wouldn't you intervene or maybe even call the police? That same woman said that he held her prisoner in a bedroom. She could come out when she calmed down. Wow. It's like that guy up in Cleveland with the girls in the basement. He told her, calm down, then you can come out. And the Nazi stuff. So liberal Chris Hayes has Graham Platner on last night and asks him a series of questions. Listen.
I'm here for you don't want to get into specifics and details, and I can respect part of that, but I do want to just make sure on the timeline, right? Because I think there's two things going through people's heads a little bit here, which is, you have talked about self-medicating with alcohol and being pretty messed up when you got back from the service and trying to figure out what you're doing and doing things maybe you wouldn't stand by now and saying things you wouldn't stand by. But this is 2023. And so there's a difference in the time, and I think the first question...
Now, let me tell you, I love this narrative. They have very short memories. So we're here. He's a self-admitted drunk, an alcoholic, was a mean drunk, who did terrible things to women. But they say that's okay because he was in the military. Even though this is not true, they make a claim about Pete Hegseth that he's an alcoholic, and has done things when he's drunk, which is not true, but they still say that, and that's a disqualifier for him to have a job. Why is it okay for Graham Platner to be a drunk and a mean drunk? But even though it's not true, and they fantasize that it's true, with Pete Hegseth, it's a disqualifier for him to have a job on even on television, not to mention working for the government.
Is like, when did this stop? If it stopped, if there was stuff that you're not proud of that you worked out with your wife, you don't want to talk about the details, when did it stop?
Well, it stopped when it was happening. I mean, like, it was Amy and I, it happened soon after we got married. And we dealt with it very, very early in our relationship. And so that's when it stopped.
Oh, my goodness. It stopped when it stopped? When it was happening? What kind of answer is that? And I love Chris Hayes. Oh, okay. Okay. You know, and who cares what Amy Braun Platner says? Do you really trust a woman who was looking at a Nazi tattoo in her face while she was having sex with her husband? I mean, give me a break. I mean, remember, he didn't get the tattoo removed. He got another tattoo over it just during the campaign because he got caught. Okay, here's another clip. This is Chris Hayes talking to Platner on this insane interview last night.
I'm here for me. You don't want to get into specifics and details, and I can.
Okay, hold on a second. That's the same clip. Let me cue up the next one. Hold on. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen someone excused at the level he was excused by this guy. Okay, let's see here. Is this the same one? Let me check. We'll find out. If it is, after the break, I'll queue up the new ones.
I'm here for me. You don't want to get into specifics.
Yeah, that's the same one, too. I don't know why the same one keeps playing. Oh, well, I'll get to the new ones after the break. I've never seen something like this. You know, he just takes his word for it. Why? Because like Doc, who called me earlier in the show, he's got a D next to his name, and that's all they care about. All right, we'll take our break for the bottom of the hour. Friendly Tire in Margate. Oh, man. Let me tell you. You know, I remember when I first found Friendly Tire in Margate, and I saw how low he prices his tires. I've never bought tires from anywhere else, and my entire family and extended family all buy their tires at Friendly Tire in Margate as well. New tires out the door and on the road for as low as $75 a tire. And remember, Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or even dispose of your old tires. So the price he quotes you is out the door and on the road. And as low as $75 on new tires, right? That's on common sizes on some of the most popular vehicles on the road. He has thousands of good used tires in stock for as low as $35 a tire, and that's out the door and on the road too. He also does tire repairs. Give Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire a call. He can get all the name brands you know and love. Firestone, Pirelli, Bridgestone, whatever you like, he can get them, and he can get tires for any type of vehicle. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. That's 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. We'll be right back.
Making morning radio great again. I think you're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. From the All-Year Cooling Weather Center, South Florida's #1 choice for same-day installation. Here's your oldies forecast.
Well, with all the rain we've been having the last few days, we have a nice Friday and Saturday ahead. Sunny to partly cloudy today, breezy with a high in the middle 80s, overnight low in the upper 70s. Saturday, very slight chance of showers, a high in the upper 80s and the overnight low in the upper 70s.
Weather brought to you by All-Year Cooling. Enjoy free AC replacement estimates along with same-day service and installation. Visit allyearcooling.com to schedule your service today. And remember, the All-Year family is here to serve your family all year long. And now, a True Oldies traffic check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Vehicle crash, Palm Beach County, I-95 southbound, south of Woolbright Road. Mile marker 56 in Boynton Beach, no roadblock mentioned. Also a vehicle crash on the Turnpike southbound, mile marker 75, Glades Road in Boca Raton with no roadblock as well. From the traffic center, I'm Ray Thomas.
That's your traffic brought to you by PBKC. It's a big week at PBKC. Watch, wager, and win on exciting OTB action, including steaks this Saturday. Make reservations today for the Paddock Restaurant with over 140 HD TVs, 3 big screens, great food, cold drinks, and all the racing and sports action you can handle. Don't miss Belmont Day this Saturday at PBKC. For details on events, dinner shows, and more, go to pbkennelclub.com.
This is Dr. Phil Appleton. I'm a chiropractic physician. I've seen thousands and thousands of patients in my career. I've been a chiropractic physician here at Pompano Beach for 40 years. We're open 6 days a week. If you have sciatica, you have bursitis, you have tendonitis, you're tired of taking the pills, the drugs, the injections, and you heard that you have to live with it, well, there's a lot of times you don't have to live with it. I've had great success with helping people. My testimonials are marvelous with patients. They love the treatment. There's no injections. There's no medication. There's no surgery. There's none of that. It's strictly either the laser, the acupuncture I do, or shockwave therapy I do. Open 6 days a week. Come in for the free consultation and be willing to look at you and help you.
Take advantage of that no-charge consultation with Dr. Appleton. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com.
Jupiter Joe here. Isn't it time to protect your money in this crazy market? Well, we can make sure you don't lose any more money by taking advantage of our 15% bonus annuity. That's right, get up to 15% on your money day one and keep what you earn. Give me a call and see how this works. Call 561-743-0999 or go to jupiterjoe.com. That's 15% guaranteed risk-free on your money. Call 561-743-0999 or go to jupiterjoe.com.
This is Steve Cann. I want to tell you about my favorite restaurant in all of South Florida, Wings Plus in Coral Springs. Wings just the way you like them. Plump, tender, and delicious. Crispy on the outside, succulent on the inside. Everything homemade. Nothing comes out of a can. Dozens of specialty sauces that will make your mouth water. Wings Plus, located in Coral Springs, a mile west of University on the south side of Sample Road.
Now, back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig, celebrating 49 years on the air.
All right, we're back. Yeah, you know, I was just the other day. I was looking at I was on Facebook, and the Facebook page for Wings Plus on Sample Road, came up. Brian, he's the owner over there. It popped up. One of the actors from The Rookie was over at Wings Plus the other day. The guy that plays Sergeant Bradford on The Rookie. I don't know what he was doing in Coral Springs, but he was there. I don't know. And his wife's a pretty famous actress too. I wish I was over there when they were there. I don't know if they were just there visiting and they went into Wings Plus, but anyway, the Sample Road location is where they were at. All right, so let me finish up with Graham Platner, and then I want to get into some other things. But what you see the liberals do with Graham Platner, it's insanity. This is super nuts. Okay, this is Gretchen Carlson, and Gretchen Carlson, she's a real man hater. She was one of the women that worked with Megyn Kelly to get rid of Roger Ailes and others at Fox. And she's a former Miss America or Miss USA. I can't remember which one. It's all the same to me. And she's on their committee. And a couple years ago, she got the beauty pageant to drop the swimsuit competition. That's the only reason that 80-90% of the people watch is for that. She got rid of it. And I don't know how she ever was a Miss America. I mean, she's not there. But anyway, she's on CNN with Van Jones and Anderson Cooper. And she's talking about Graham Platner. And listen to what she drops. Again, this is Gretchen Carlson. She used to be on Fox. Now she's on CNN.
Mistreatment of women is about power. It's not about politics.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me rewind. I didn't have the on button on.
Look, mistreatment of women is about power. It's not about politics. So, I mean, I found this out 10 years ago when I came forward at Fox about sexual harassment there. I mean, that happened to be at Fox, which people see as Republican, but then we saw other titans fall who were on the Democratic side. So this kind of behavior is about power over people, not about politics. And so how do we parlay that then into the political system? We should have both parties denigrating anyone in either party who behaves in such a way. You know, we have seen some Democrats come forward to say to say that maybe, Graham Platner has to re-examine his behavior, and they're at least calling it out. I would like to see the same thing coming from Republicans with regard to Donald Trump. But
they got a Nazi. He holds a woman prisoner in a bedroom, right? He's pulling a woman out of a taxi by her wrist, and he's got a Nazi tattoo. And she says the Republicans need to do something about Donald Trump. What is she talking about? I mean, play the rest of it, and maybe she'll tell us.
I would like to see the same thing coming from Republicans with regard to Donald Trump. But overall, I think both parties need to be honest and take accountability.
Okay, whatever. I don't know what she's talking about with Donald Trump. He hasn't abused any women that I know of. Do any of you know of any women he's abused? No. All right, now, if you have any thoughts on any of that, you're certainly welcome to call in. And, remember, Friday is open phones, open MAGA Mike Friday. You can call in about any and everything you want on Friday's show. The number is 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. Now, President Trump dropped something in his Oval Office press conference about Iran that was really, I've wondered about this myself, and I have not heard anyone explain it, and he did yesterday. And it was about what the negotiation is about with Iran. Did you guys catch this? Now, even if you watched the press conference yesterday, this may not have sunk in with you because he was asked about it by two reporters. He explained, but they were so interested in other things, they kind of blew by it. But Steve Doocy asked, and then Trump didn't really answer. Then another reporter asked, and then then President Trump gave a very, oh, you know what? Can you call, I forgot. He gave a very, very detailed answer, and it was about the nuclear dust. It was about the nuclear dust. So what the reporters asked him, and Doocy was one of them, well, I thought that we took out their nuclear facility last year with the bombing. So what is this about you want to get the nuclear dust? What's going on here? And President Trump gave a very detailed explanation, which is rather simple, and I'm glad he did. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. But first, we're going to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, good morning.
Hey, Brian. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. What do you have for us today?
This morning, I was going to talk to you guys about the importance of having the proper health care documents. When I spoke to you a couple days ago, we talked about the importance of having the right power of attorney and how important it is. So today I want to talk about the healthcare documents. There's really three key healthcare documents that everyone should have, not only have, but have the right ones and have them updated. And that is a healthcare surrogate designation. Think of that as a power of attorney for your healthcare decisions, where you're naming who can step in and make decisions for you about your healthcare needs if you're unable to do so yourself. Then there's the living will. That's the pull the plug document, the one that you make it known what your wishes would be, whether you wish to be kept alive on a machine or not under various circumstances. It's your healthcare surrogate that makes that decision. And then another important one that most people don't have when we review their documents, it's their HIPAA authorization and release. This is not who makes decisions, but who's allowed to receive information. Of course, you want your healthcare decision makers to be able to receive information so that they can make the most intelligent decision on your behalf. You don't want them making your healthcare decisions, including pulling the plug or not, in the dark without having the knowledge of knowing what's going on, having access to the doctors and nurses and medical records and so on. And then the last thing to talk about this morning relating to this is, most people don't have access to these documents when they need them. And as a Siegel Law Group, we developed a system where you can get access to your documents inside of 3 minutes, anytime, whether you have them physically on you or not. So that's something that's very valuable.
Wow.
If emergency, something happens, then the paramedics will be able to access your information right away. And how valuable is that? Including other information beyond those three documents I talked about. They can have access to their medical information, such as who their emergency contact is, who their doctor is, who their what medications they're on, what prescription drugs they're on, and what medical conditions they have. how important would that be to have that information accessible at the time that you need it? So we're looking out for your healthcare needs to make sure you have the right people in place, and also, of course, making sure that your legacy is protected. And bottom line, make sure you have peace of mind.
You know, I am a medical surrogate for more than one person, okay? And one person has me as their medical surrogate. We're not related. And one of the reasons they have me as their medical surrogate is because I'm not inheriting any money from them. So they know there'll be no conflict of interest. I'm serious. There's a heart attack about that, by the way. Because I'm not inheriting from them, they know my decisions won't be based on that. And I know that may seem extreme, but there's a lot of things that come into play with that, Barry, when people decide that.
The decisions that, or a lot of things you have to take into consideration when making decisions. Not just that, the point that you made, but also, for example, you want to be careful to make sure that the healthcare decision maker that you choose, that you're choosing to potentially pull the plug, is somebody who can actually do it.
Yes.
Name loved ones, that could be one of the hardest things to do, to pull your spouse or your parent or, some loved one. So, if your goal is, if those circumstances were to occur that your plug be pulled, you want to make sure that the person you name will actually do it and has the strength to do it.
And I'll tell you another thing too. I'm a healthcare advocate for multiple people. Another person, they chose me because they know that I'm proactive enough with doctors and with hospitals that when things happen, I can be there and be their advocate, right? And I can stand up for them when they can't. There's all kinds of reasons. Well, I'll tell you this. The Siegel Law Group, if you mention when you call that you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the program, you can take advantage of the no-charge in-office consultation. Give the Siegel Law Group a call, toll-free, 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, have a great weekend, Barry. We'll talk next week.
You too, Brian. Thanks.
All right, take care. All right, to the phones we go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian.
Yes. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is John from Margate.
John from Margate. I would ask you how you're doing, but you don't sound like you're doing well.
Okay.
Or you just woke up, one or the other.
Talking about Renee from Harlem.
Renee from Harlem, yes.
On Tuesday. Remember that? And he said that he called you and Steve Kane racist.
Yes.
But I guess he doesn't know that Steve Kane has 13 or 14 children.
No, he doesn't have 13 or 14 children. He has, I think it's 6 children, 5 of which are black.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, not 13.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he should have pointed that out to Renee.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen, I'm going to move on, but I appreciate the call, and I hope you do better, all right? You sound under the weather. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian, good morning. How you doing, bud?
All right. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Tom, Florida.
Oh, yes, Tom.
So how you been, Brian?
I'm always well.
Always well. That's good, buddy. I'm glad to hear that.
Buddy, we're not buddies.
All right. No, I'm sorry. I was just, I'll put with the nice.
You think I would be friends with someone like you? You're not the kind of person I'd be a buddy with.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yes. Yeah, I'm buddies with moral people, not immoral.
So you're buddies with moral people, but then you'll blindly follow a man who just wants to start. What do you think that fund was about? It's Open Mic Friday. What do you think that fund was about, Brian?
Well, you're speaking in incomplete sentences. So speak in complete sentences and ask away.
The fund that he started.
What fund?
That was for.
What fund?
The fund with all the $1 billion that this guy.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing how you can be against something you don't even know what it is. You're talking about the 1776 fund, the 1.776 billion fund. What was that about? And I will answer that question. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. It was with that fund, which may come back, was for people that were victimized and oppressed by the Biden Justice Department, who have been bankrupted, lost their livelihoods and other things, so that they could recoup what the government took from them. It's like a reparations fund for those who were abused by the Biden Justice Department.
Okay. How like, I mean, I will say that maybe some people did get a little too much, but come on, man. You know what that sounds like to me, brother? Sounds like to me
We're not related. We're not brothers.
Blind soldiers. Okay? He's trying to buy.
Yeah. You know, why are you upset at Trump when you've got a Nazi in your party?
You want to know what?
No, we're not pals. We're not pals. You're not. Well, aren't you upset at the Nazi in your party, Graham Platner? Graham Platner.
Oh man. Okay. You know that's funny. You're definitely pointing the direction in the wrong way here, pal. I'm asking you a question.
I answered your question.
Okay. So with that being said, you answered it. Okay, very vaguely you answered it. Now with that being said, why is it that a lot of people are spending money on gasoline? Why is it that Donald?
Because that's what cars run on. That's what cars run on. Gasoline. That's why people are buying gas. Oh my goodness.
Is it that Donald Trump gets richer by the day?
Really?
American people get poor.
So he's richer today than he was yesterday?
Hey Brian, you and I.
What was? Wait, hold on a second. What was he worth? What was he worth yesterday, and what's he worth today?
Brian, what does that matter when you're?
No. You said that they're getting richer every day. So what was their net worth yesterday, and what is it today? Since they have more.
He's got his Trump affairs and taking every advantage of whatever he can. Okay.
Of what? What is he taking advantage of?
Okay, you ready for this? When has a man ever been elected president and become one of the richest men in the world at the same time?
No, President Trump, to correct you with what you've said, President Trump is the first president of the United States in the modern era who has a lower net worth after he was president. He's lost money being president. Yep.
Nope.
President Trump has lost money as president.
Absolutely.
No, not salary. No, overall, President Trump, his net worth has gone down.
Hey, that might be liquid, Brian, but when you're looking at
liquid,
that he became one of the richest men in the world.
No, he's not. He's not even close. No, he's not.
But
no, they're not. The Trumps are not. The Trumps are not even close to being the richest people in the world.
Brian, I tell you, man, you got to wake up, bro. You got to wake up.
Mm-hmm. I think you need to go to sleep.
Maybe, but I'll tell you one thing.
No, you won't. You've told me enough. And all of it was untrue. Are you tired of security cameras that cost too much money that you can't install properly, or maybe not even be able to install, or they're not giving you the coverage and protection that you need? I'm going to give you the number in a moment for Sloman's. Call Sloman's and ask them about their facial recognition cameras. These are absolutely amazing. Sloman's advanced tech recognizes familiar faces and alerts you when specific people arrive. So I can put Tom's face on it, and then it'll make sure all the doors are locked when he pulls up. I'm serious about that. Maybe I should do that. I got a whole list of people I could put into that. It even connects seamlessly with your alarm system and your smart devices. So when you pull up to your house, it knows it's you. Turns your lights on, unlocks your doors. You don't need any keys, nothing. Boom, you're in the house because it knows it is you. And right now, for a limited time, you can get all of it for just $24.95 a month. Sloman's is going to give you an all-in-one facial recognition door lock, a doorbell camera, an outdoor camera, plus the Sloman Shield home security system that includes an LED keypad, 3-door window contacts, a motion detector, and battery backup. And everything is professionally installed. Give them a call, 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. We'll be right back.
The cold, hard truth.
questions are, if you're turning 65, new to Medicare, moving, or qualifying for a special enrollment period, you may still have options. Don't guess when it comes to your healthcare coverage. Call Debbie at I Will Advisors at 954-753-8080. That's 954-753-8080. She'll walk you through your Medicare Advantage, your supplements, and your prescription drug plans. Then help you find coverage that fits your needs and your budget. You don't have to figure this out alone. Call Debbie today at 954-753-8080. That's 954-753-8080. Debbie can help you with your Medicare no matter where you're located in the state of Florida. 954-753-8080.
or put like a sticky note or something. I always remember the days. The second 7:30 comes around.
I can't remember the days, so.
We're like the opposite.
Yeah, I got to write them down. I have everything written down but that.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, I'll write it down. If I have a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yeah, Monday and Thursday now.
Wait, what days?
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I write it down for myself too with the time.
Yeah.
Put it together and boom.
Yeah.
Do you suffer from neuropathy? I did until I went to Lighthouse Medical Center in numbness, pain, burning, tingling in my hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching have all but disappeared. Say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. Call Lighthouse Medical Center for a free consultation. 754-222-6642.
Brian Craig here. When it comes time to get my blood work done, I don't have time to spend hours in the doctor's office or waiting hours for one of those big labs. That's why I use any lab test now in Boca and any lab test now in Coral Springs for all of my lab work. Their techs are highly skilled and professional, and their prices are guaranteed to be the lowest on lab work you'll find anywhere. Appointments aren't necessary. Doctor's orders and prescriptions, they're not needed either. I'm in and out in 15 minutes or less. I get the results the next day in my email box, and they also send it to my doctor. There's lots of any lab test nows around, but these are the only two advertising on our radio station. So don't use the rest. Only go to any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs. Any lab test now of Boca is in the Sandalwood Plaza. That's where the Western Beef is, between Palmetto Park Road and Hillsborough Boulevard on the east side of State Road 7 or 41. Any lab test now of Coral Springs is on the southeast corner of University and Gravelwood by the Coral Square Mall. Call any lab test now of Boca at 561-237-5009. Any lab test now of Coral Springs number is 954-906-5983. And don't forget to mention that you heard about them on the radio.
We take on the social justice warrior on the breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show is on the air.
All right, we're back. It is Friday. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. So I forgot to get back to this. So President Trump, he was asked about the negotiations with Iran yesterday, and he gave an answer, and I'm glad he did because I've been wondering this myself and haven't heard anyone articulate it. So Peter Doocy and then another reporter, Trump answered. They asked this question: I thought we took out their nuclear facility with the bombing run. Why are we negotiating to get this nuclear dust? Right? Do they have another facility? And he said no. He said that when we bombed the mountain, he said the mountain collapsed on the facility, which was deep under the mountain, and the nuclear dust is at the bottom of the mountain. And we want to get it. And the negotiation is about this. He said that the United States and China are the only two countries that have the equipment and technology to dig down into there and get it. And so then Doocy asked, well, why don't you just go and do it? And he said it is a minimum of a 2-week dig with very large and very expensive and big equipment that we'd have to fly in. He says it's a war zone. So we would have to spend, and 2 weeks would end up being a month, 3 weeks or a month. But he said we'd have to spend a couple of weeks with a mining operation in the middle of a war zone. He says we talked about doing that even before you knew about the operation in the beginning happening. And it just doesn't make sense. We can't have a mining team in the middle of a war zone for weeks digging down there. So what they're negotiating with is for us to be able to go in and dig down and get that nuclear dust. And you know what I wonder? And this may be part of the delay, because the Democrats are in bed with the Iranian regime. We know this, right? John Kerry has a personal relationship. In fact, isn't John Kerry's son-in-law an Iranian, if I remember correctly? And he has a tight relationship with the Iranians. He's the genius that negotiated that Iran deal that when Obama gave them all that money, right? And the negotiations may be held up by the Democrats, Obama and his cronies. And for a number of reasons, obviously they want Trump to fail. But it very well could be, the negotiations could be held up by Democrats in this country, the same people that have been involved in the coup and lawfare against Trump all these years. But you know what when they get that nuclear dust from deep beneath that mountain, you know what they're going to do? They're going to test it. And I'm not a nuclear scientist. I don't know how all these things work. But when they test the nuclear material, they can tell where it came from. Would you at all be surprised if that nuclear material at the bottom of that mountain we blew up came from the United States? Remember, Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, she made that deal to give the Russians 20% of the U.S. uranium deposits. They did it through a shell company in Canada, but they gave it to Russia. And Russia has been allied with Iran for many, many years. And it would not surprise me at all if it was American uranium. And that may be one of the, if it's true that the Democrats are working behind the scenes to stop the Iranians from making a deal by telling them, hey, there's going to be a new president in a couple of years, just drag it out, we'll be back in power, which they're not, and things will go back to normal. That would not surprise me at all. And I'm not the only person who speculated on that. That would be something else, wouldn't it? Oh my goodness. Now, if they found out it was Hillary Clinton uranium, we may not ever be told. They may keep that classified top secret stuff. But that would not surprise me at all. All right, let's go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brother Brian, IB in Broward.
Hey, IB.
Finally hit the nail on the head. We are here now. We are here. If you remember, Steve asked me, who has the uranium? And I said, the mountain, and Steve laughed. So the point is, we cannot have troops on the ground at this point, and they cannot give up the dust because it's going to reveal the people behind where it came from, starting with Hillary and Barack from Uranium One in Canada.
That's right.
Russia gave some of it to them. So you just hit the nail on the head.
Well, I don't remember that call, but if you said that, you were right. I mean, and if you remember, John Kerry has these Iranian cell phone numbers, all right? He's very tight with them. And he was personally calling them in Trump's first term when Trump called off the Iranian deal. Remember? So, so I could very well see them doing this.
And in that same phone call, I also said when the Iranians tried to start digging it out again, because we have satellites on that site, then Trump hit them with a second airwaves. So the bottom line is, they cannot come to a decision. Like I said, we have to have a decisive decision because it's going to reveal Barack Obama in the deep state. And you just said it once again. When they test the nuclear dust, it's going to show that it came from America. The person and the companies and all involved that sold it, that created all this terror.
That's right.
Democrats are going to look at your friend.
That's right.
Now, when it points right back.
Yeah. It would not, in fact, I think I would be more surprised if it wasn't U.S. uranium. All right, I appreciate the call, IB. Good point. Now, listen, if you're suffering from neuropathy, get something to write with, all right? I'm going to give you the number to Lighthouse Medical in just a moment. You might have neuropathy and not even know it. Do you have numbness, pain, burning, tingling in your hands and feet, muscle weakness, dizziness? Are you falling down a lot or from time to time? Muscle twitching? Do you have the feeling of pins and needles in your hands and feet? maybe no feeling at all. If you have any of these symptoms, you may have neuropathy. Lighthouse Medical can examine you and let you know. But neuropathy, the symptoms of it make life unbearable. Call Lighthouse Medical. Do what so many people in this audience have done. Go over there, take advantage of their neuropathy treatment, and get your life back, neuropathy free. Give them a call. Make sure you mention you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of the no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. We'll be back after our top of the hour break. Don't go anywhere.
Saturday, very slight chance of showers, a high in the upper 80s, and the overnight low in the upper 70s.
Weather brought to you by Code Red Roofers. Roofers who respond. Serving South Florida for over 20 years. Promoting integrity over profitability. And focused on doing right over being right. Protect your home or office today with Code Red Roofers. Call 844-4CODE-RED. CodeRedRoofers.com. And now, a True Oldies traffic check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Crash with injuries in Palm Beach County. I-95 southbound, mile marker 79. That's PGA Boulevard in Palm Beach Gardens with no roadblock mentioned. A little further south, vehicle crash. I-95 southbound. That's south of Woolbright Road at mile marker 56 in Boynton Beach and no roadblock. From the traffic center, I'm Ray Thomas.
That's your traffic brought to you by PBKC. It's hot hands and cool cash this month in the poker room at PBKC. Don't miss exciting daily tournaments, including the $100,000 guaranteed Monster Multi-Flight June 4th through the 7th. Take your shot with $65 satellites or a $300 buy-in. Plus, high hands hit every 15 minutes from 9 a.m. to midnight. $100,000 progressive weekends, a $15,000 cash giveaway, and non-stop table game action. Get all the details now at pbkennelclub.com.
Hi, it's Brian Craig. Let me ask you this. Are you planning on retiring in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, at any point in your life? Or are you already retired? Listen, economically, it's a mess with the stock market ups and downs and inflation out of control. In fact, it's the highest inflation rate in 40 years. You need a plan of action for your retirement plans. You need the advice of a retirement expert who can help you protect your money, guarantee your income, and stop losing money. Joe Thomas is president of Retirement Network Advisors, South Florida's premier retirement experts, and has been for over 20 years. He's seen it all and is a true professional that you can trust. They're family owned and operated. His daughter Jenny works with him. You know Joe and Jenny from right here on True Oldies. He's the host of the Jupiter Joe Money Show, and he's been doing that for over a decade. You need Jupiter Joe's book, The Retirement Know-It-All. Mention my name, Brian Craig, and receive a free copy of his ebook. Go to jupiterjoe.com or call 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. Take advantage of his free phone consultation too. Go to jupiterjoe.com or call 561-743-0999. When you need lab work, don't waste hours and hours waiting at the doctor's office or one of those big labs. Go to any lab test now at Boca and any lab test now at Coral Springs. Their prices are guaranteed to be the lowest you'll find anywhere. No appointment, doctor's order, or prescription is needed, and you're in and out in 15 minutes or less. They offer every lab and blood work your doctor could order. They even have drug testing and STD testing. Take control of your health care and visit any lab test now at Boca and any lab test now at Coral Springs. There's lots of any lab test nows around, but these are the
Since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right, the 8 o'clock hour has begun. I was just reading this story during the break out of Minnesota that is, it's insane. You know, people just have forgotten 9/11. You know, when Mamdani didn't go to that Israeli event the other day, what do you think he's going to do when the 9/11 event comes up? Because, you know, this year is the 25th year since 9/11. And I got to tell you, it's inappropriate for him, frankly, to be involved. You know, his wife. Remember, his wife on International Women's Day, she went on Twitter and was celebrating on International Women's Day a female Islamic plane hijacker. Okay, so you know it's inappropriate. I just was reading this story. Listen to this out of Minnesota. You know, Minnesota, we're in big trouble. In Minnesota, it involves Target. Have any of you seen this story? I don't know if it's been picked up nationally. You know, Target did a few years ago when they started letting the whole transgender thing. The first place it really became a controversy was the ladies' room at Target and their dress. Remember this? Target announced that they would let men use the ladies' room if they identified as a woman. And by the way, that also went for their changing rooms, right? And they got so much bad publicity over that. Target was severely damaged. And they're lucky that the company got through it and survived it. It was a national thing. And people have kind of forgotten about it now. And a lot of things have happened since then. But it was a big deal, and I think people still do remember it. And it was much worse than the Bud Light self-destruction to their brand, because when they would let men use the ladies' room and the women's dressing room at Target, people were upset that their wives and daughters would not be safe for obvious reasons. And we've seen instances at gyms and elsewhere where just perverts all of a sudden are using the women's locker room at gyms and such. But Target, you know, sometimes someone or a company or an organization will do something stupid like that, and then they'll come around and, you know, Americans are forgiving people, and they'll move on and go back to Target. And I like Target. It's kind of like an upscale Walmart. I like Target, you know, and I shop there probably once a week. But listen to this. This is in Minneapolis. Have you guys seen this in the news yet? You know, if you have, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. A Target store in Minneapolis has quartered off a hallway with 6 changing rooms and converted it to a Muslim prayer area. The store is located in Apple Valley, Minnesota, just south of the Twin Cities. A concerned customer took photographs of the area and sent them to Alpha News. The pictures show retractable belts sectioning off both sides of the hallway. This is in a Target. The pictures show retractable belts sectioning off both sides of the hallway, as well as a sign on one of the doors that said, Ramadan Mubarak, a traditional Arabic greeting during the Muslim holy month. And by the way, that's in February and March is Ramadan. It's in the article here. The sign also said, this room is being used for prayer. Please do not enter. Whether the room was meant for customers or employees to pray is unclear. They reached out to Target. They asked when it might be taken down, or other stores making similar accommodations for Muslim prayer. According to the Federal Civil Rights Act, businesses must provide reasonable accommodation to employees' religious beliefs and practices, though there's no mandate to create spaces specifically dedicated to prayer or other religious needs. Despite that lack of a legal mandate to create prayer spaces, it appears that the Apple Valley location is not the only Target store to have created an area dedicated to Muslim prayers. So this is becoming a thing. A 2023 post in the Target Reddit community showed photos of a prayer room that was titled, Human Resources Set Up a Prayer Room for Muslim Team Members. One comment in the thread said, "We had a lot of those in Minnesota stores. It was very thoughtful and considerate and truly inclusive." Another user replied to the comment and wrote, "Minnesota here, we have a prayer room too. Our human resources recently decorated it. I don't know how many team members we have who actually take advantage of it, but it's really nice." Someone else said, "It'd be nice if they did something like this for Christians." Yeah, don't count on it. The recent photo was taken of a prayer room at a Target, and I'm looking at the pictures, and the sign that says Ramadan, this room to be used for prayer, please do not enter. It's also in Arabic. It's in Arabic and English, and it is a big, big sign on the doors, and they do have it roped off. See, this is, yeah, and I know what people are, that are on the left would say, well, wait a minute, what about tolerance and different, here's the thing, all right? What this is not, this situation at Target, this is not about Muslim workers, team members as they call them, at the Target to have a prayer room, okay? What this is about is, like happened in England, is overtaking areas of this country. This is in Minneapolis, this is Minnesota. We've seen this has been going on for a while. They've been attempting to do this in Texas. Savannah Hernandez, who's that Turning Point reporter that got attacked by that liberal family a few weeks back at the ICE facility, she recently did a story. She went to Texas and showed where the Muslims are trying to build this massive city and everything in Texas and move in there. We see what's going on in New York City. See, it's why when people talk about, how bad Mamdani's doing, Mamdani and his supporters don't care how successful or unsuccessful he is as mayor. They're normalizing the idea that New York City has an Islamic mayor. This thing at Target is about normalizing and make people feel like it's a normal thing to have these Islamic prayer rooms. Now, these aren't just prayer rooms for anyone of any religion. It's not for Christians. It's not for Jews. It's very specifically for Muslims. All right? And I know some people may say, well, accommodations are made for Christians. Where? Where are these accommodations being made in retail stores for Christians? Could you tell me? I've never seen anything like this. Or Jews? No. I mean, I have friends that are Jews that eat exclusively kosher food. Do restaurants provide that? Maybe, but there's kosher restaurants. They're not required to do it. There's all kinds of things that different religions have. I've never seen a business like this make a religious accommodation for a specific religion in their store. And not only that, they took their changing rooms, about half of them, and turned them into Muslim prayer rooms. Now, this is about doing in the United States what they did successfully in the UK, the Islamification of the United States. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
From Iowa.
All right, John, what's up?
Hey, so first, one thing I want to say that's even creepier than the Target is that the Vatican just did the same thing. They added a Muslim prayer center. They said supposedly for people that work there are Muslim, but to me that's still not right.
Well, first off, no, that's the Holy See there. I'm Catholic. I mean, that's for Christians.
Yeah, and they literally have added a Muslim prayer center.
Wow, that's disturbing.
The Vatican.
That's insane.
It is. So, hey, the one thing main thing I called for. Are you familiar with Mitch Snow? He's like Candace Owens' prime witness about like Fort Huachuca and Erica Kirk being there planning Charlie's assassination.
No. I'm not. I'm not. I know her. I don't know that person, but I know her lunatic stories that Erica Kirk and the Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I know about her stupidity about that. What about it?
Okay, well, Mitch Snow, I mean, it's crazy. He is like a carbon copy of this Graham Platner. They're like military, maybe special forces. If you just look at the two, they look almost identical. It's not a conspiracy. I'm not saying that they're the same, but it's just crazy how close this Graham Platner is to Mitch Snow. And like I said, Mitch Snow is whole foundation for all her crazy crap.
Oh, is it? I don't know. I don't know about this Snow guy. The only Snow I know is Jon Snow, if anybody knows who that is. That's from Game of Thrones. But I'll look it up. But you know, the thing with Candace Owens, I've never seen a case of jealousy from a woman at the level that Candace Owens has. And she's jealous that Erica Kirk is getting the attention. She wants to be the sympathetic widow, and it just eats her up inside.
You know, I've met Candace Owens. I've met her with Vivek, and I've gotten pictures taken. My wife with her too. And I'm telling you, when we both met her, when we got away from her, we both said she was odd. Like she had a very dark.
Or how long ago was that?
It was when Vivek was running in Dubuque, Iowa. She came here with him to campaign for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, you know the thing about this trip she made to Russia, if you've seen it, Russia is in the process of trying to recruit her. I'm going to talk more about it when we get back from the break because I got to go to a break. But I appreciate the call, and after the break, I'll get into that. All right, take care. Appreciate it.
Mitch Snow.
I will most definitely do it. All right, take care. Appreciate the call. Now, Father's Day is going to be here before you know it, and there's nothing a dad likes better than a good night's sleep. Go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. Dad will no longer fall asleep on the recliner, on the couch, or anywhere else. He'll go to bed because there's not a dad out there that doesn't want a MyPillow or the MyPillow sheets or the MyPillow 3-inch mattress topper. Get Dad a gift for Father's Day that he will keep and enjoy every night for many years to come. Don't get a boring tie or anything or some tools that he's never going to use. Go to mypillow.com. And with our promo code KANE at checkout, there's huge deals right now, some of the lowest prices I've seen. And you can use our promo code KANE on all the specials at mypillow.com at checkout. You can also order by phone toll-free, 800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879, promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. We'll be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
On the line is Jamie Leibach from Swift Tax. You know, Jamie, a lot of people missed the tax deadline on April 15th. Not only is it not too late for them to file, but they may have, with the new tax code, a huge refund coming that they're leaving on the table, right?
Absolutely, Brian. If you haven't filed your taxes and you've been avoiding it because you're worried about penalties or late fees, if you are anticipating a refund, give me a call. There's a good chance there is a substantial amount of money left on the table for you. Again, this is your money. You worked hard for it. Give me a call anytime. Jamie Leibach, Swift Tax.
Yeah, and remember, Jamie Leibach can help you with your taxes no matter where you are located in the United States. Give him a call right now, 954-773-1587, 954-773-1587.
Do you suffer from neuropathy? I did until I went to Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in my hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching have all but disappeared. Say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. Call Lighthouse Medical Center for a free consultation. 754-222-6642.
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Sandra. I'm calling from Delray Beach. The Barry Siegel Law Group did such wonderful work for me, and I was very particular. I'm a professional myself, and I went to about 3 or 4 attorneys prior. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. They didn't want to add anything extra, but Barry tailored it to my needs. And it's not only the trust. There's so many other end-of-life life documents, the living will, the will, and I tailored each one of them to my liking, and they were wonderful and always polite. And not only that, when you finish your documents and you leave this world, your beneficiaries could go there and they'll explain everything to them, which is a big deal. The Siegel Group is above and beyond any other attorney that I have ever contacted. Plus, they give you a big portfolio at the end with a leather-bound documents. It's beautiful.
Give the Siegel Law Group a call, 855-FLA-3782, 855-FLA-3782, and online, SiegelLawGroup.com.
Now, back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, and anywhere in the world at TrueOldiesFLA.com.
All right, we're back. Yeah, so I told that last caller that Putin is attempting to recruit Candace Owens with this Russia trip. And I want to explain that. I'm not just saying that. I was following this very closely. You know, over the years, you got to remember, Putin was with the KGB, and he's a communist. He's a Soviet Union guy. He wants to make Russia the Soviet Union again, right? Everybody agrees on this, especially liberals. And over the years, we used to have Russian spies all the time. And most of them were men. And I'm not including Snowden, by the way. I don't think Snowden is a Russian spy. I don't want to get sidetracked on that. But some of the spies in the past, if you remember, most of them were feds, right? Some of them were FBI agents. And when the enemy are recruiting spies, and the CCP does this now, and the Russians have been doing it for even longer, they find what the vice is of that individual. Sometimes it's sex. Eric Swalwell with Feng Feng, the Chinese spy, recruited him through his perversion. There was a Russian spy a number of years ago that went to the NRA convention and seduced some guys, conservative guys at the NRA convention. Remember that? She got arrested, went to jail. Sometimes it's money. Some of the FBI Russian spies took money. And when they got busted, they had money and they had fur coats and new cars and fancy clothes. Remember all that? So what they usually do, it's usually men, because men have more vices than women, but they find someone that has what they want. It could be information or access, and they find out what their vice is, and it's usually sex or money. And I'm watching what's been going on with Candace Owens in Russia. And do you know what her vice is? Some people may say it's money. No, she's rich. Her husband is British nobility. She's very rich. She has 2 multi-million-dollar homes in Nashville. And her father-in-law is a lord, and he has like his own Downton Abbey in the UK. It's not money. Candace Owens, what her vice is, isn't money. It's not sex. It is, she's a narcissist who loves to be on TV, who loves to be talked about and interviewed. That's fame is her vice. And if you watch what's been going on with Candace Owens in Russia, they've had her on national television multiple times over there since she's been over there. And I know there's some others. Steven Seagal's over there, whatever. I like, I like Under Siege, but he's kind of a strange dude. But her vice isn't sex or money, it's fame and attention. And if you see her, you would be hard-pressed to find video or pictures of her. There's a couple with her husband, but most everyone, there's a bunch of microphones in her face, and a lot of them, 10, 12 microphones in her face. And if you notice, a lot of them are from the same news outlet, because Putin knows, he's very smart. He knows that Candace Owens' vice is fame, and they're putting microphones in front of her, and I believe he's trying to recruit her, right? And I was talking in the first hour, I'm not going to go through the whole thing with this guy, but she did one interview yesterday with Rick Sanchez, and Rick Sanchez. Remember Rick Sanchez from WSVN 7 News? Those of you in South Florida, if you remember. Rick Sanchez, I was in shock when I saw this yesterday. And everybody that is a longtime South Florida person, everyone knows Rick Sanchez. He is infamous and involved in... I went through some of his scandals earlier. I'm not going to go through them now. You can go back and listen to the first hour of the show, and you'll hear that. But Rick Sanchez, he interviewed Candace Owens, and I saw it online yesterday, and it shocked me that Rick Sanchez was interviewing her in St. Petersburg, not Florida, St. Petersburg, Russia, and he works for Russian Today, that Russian television outlet. He's worked for Putin's Russia Today, Rick Sanchez, since 2019, and last year he moved to Moscow. So Rick Sanchez moves to Moscow, and he's working for Putin. Now, Rick Sanchez is known for a lot of things. None of them are good, and a lot of scandal. Right? And again, in the first hour, I went through some of them, and you can go back and listen. And he, and he's a bridge burner. And if you go and watch the interview that Rick, and I retweeted this on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. You can go and see the clips. What Rick Sanchez, his entire interview with Candace Owens pretty much is about how great it is to live in Moscow. That's pretty much all he talked about how it's such a cosmopolitan city. There's art, there's this, there's that. And it was so strange because, do any of you remember that FX show, The Americans? That's a great show. I've watched the entire series like 3 times. For those that don't know, it's about 2 Soviet agents who were sleeper agents who live as a married couple. It's very good. It's streaming on Hulu or something. You should watch it. It's very good. And I remember there was an episode of The Americans, which was a very realistic show. I mean, they had real deep state people as advisors on that show, technical advisors. They're trying to recruit a guy to move to Moscow. And when I heard the script from The Americans was like word for word what Rick Sanchez was saying to Candace Owens yesterday. And there's no doubt that Putin was, and in this instance, was using Rick Sanchez, but the entire media to recruit Candace Owens. And Rick Sanchez moving to Moscow is a big deal because the thing about Rick Sanchez, he's a Cuban American, and and lived his whole life for the most part here in Florida, South Florida. He was the biggest guy ever, probably, in the Miami television market. Nobody was ever more famous than Rick Sanchez. No one. Throughout the history of the Miami television market, no one comes close. He's very well. People still talk about him, and he hasn't been on the air here for almost 30 years because of his scandals, and he's still the most famous in the Miami market for people that were back here in those days and before. And when Rick Sanchez, through all of his sleaziness, through his DUI and the organized crime guy and all that stuff, he was a very strong supporter of a free Cuba. And when he was on Miami News, he did a lot of investigative reports, even going to Cuba, exposing the evils of communism. He did it when he went to CNN, which fired him for this anti-Semitic. He said the Jews run the media, and they fired him. But before they fired him, on CNN, he did an interview that was a national story for the better part of a week. He interviewed Charlize Theron, the actress. And when he interviewed Charlize Theron, remember, this is when she was the top actress. Now she's a terrible person that goes on interviews and talks about young guys that she's hooking up with. She's a sleazeball. But this was like right after she won the Oscar. And she had said something positive about Castro. He called her out on the evils of communism. Go look it up online. It was nuts. And now Rick Sanchez is living in Moscow, working for Putin? What's happened? He's burned so many bridges, maybe that's all he could get. And that interview that Rick Sanchez does with Candace Owens, it's all about how great it is to live in Moscow. what a great city it is to live in. There's no doubt they're trying to recruit her to leave Nashville and go to Moscow. And I'll tell you this, we could very well wake up one day and find out Candace Owens is living in Moscow. I would not be surprised. Now, I know she's got a very popular show and all, but she's very independent. And she could stay here and work for that Russian Today. They've recruited other people. If you remember, some of the people, when they would get fired from CNN and MSNBC would go work for Russia Today. Remember Ed Schultz from MSNBC? He did it. Didn't Soledad O'Brien go and work for Russia Today? There's been some other names. But Rick Sanchez was a hardcore anti-communist for years on the biggest television stations in Miami. And now he's working for a communist? It's very weird. So I put the highlights of that interview on my X, Brian Craig Show on X, and after 9 o'clock, don't do anything till after 9 a.m. But go and watch them. And you can tell me if you agree or disagree, but she's definitely, there's a move by Putin to recruit Candace Owens. And she's such a narcissist and would love to have, Putin would set her up with an entire television network, basically. You know what that's like for a narcissist like her? That is like pouring gasoline on a bonfire. She won't be able to see straight. She wants that more than anything. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our break for the bottom of the hour. We'll come back. There's more to share. We'll take more calls. The number is 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll be back right after this. Oh, hey, what's up? What's up?
Got my hat for you.
Oh, yeah, dark MAGA. Yeah, I've got that one, too. I almost wore that one today. It's funny.
I got the red one. It's in my garage somewhere, and I got to find it. We moved.
Yeah, that's a good one. I got a whole collection of MAGA hats.
A whole bunch of them, and I don't wear them that much, I'm not like you, man.
Oh, I got, people give them to me. I got a guy, a listener sent me this I just got today. It's a Turning Point USA hat.
Oh, wow.
Freedom, Charlie Kirk. Yeah, cool. People say, yeah. Oh, let me give you this.
Are you on in the afternoon too?
Well, that's when I do my podcast.
I know. I seen you. Because I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
I've been just,
Yeah, I do my podcast in the afternoons and on the weekends.
Gotcha. Hey, I do want to talk about things. So, down here, there's a lot of FP&L people losing their jobs.
Okay.
In Xterra. And really quickly, they don't understand that if they make a decision on a pension option, which they're given now, they're giving pensions away.
Oh, you mean people that currently work there that have left?
They're losing their jobs.
Okay.
And they have an option to take a lump sum of money. And what happens is they disinherit their wives and say, I'm going to take the maximum number. They die tomorrow. They lose the whole pension.
Oh, my goodness.
I had a guy, I said to him, you're going to lose, your wife's going to lose $1.9 million. He goes, no, it's not possible. I go, call up your plan administrator, ask them if you die the next day. If the husband and wife die, the kids don't get any money. If you roll this to an annuity, your money's 100% protected, and you have access to the principal, and you both get income forever. Just the opposite,
Yeah.
So it's just important. I just thought we could touch base on it today.
No, that's a good thing to talk about.
Cool. Everything else good?
Yeah, everything's going good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Everything's.
I'm going to do that other show too. The Social Security thing.
Oh, that thing I told you about?
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I actually wrote down a bunch of other ideas what I got from you.
Yeah, that's a good one because I think that's something people don't ever think about, and they plan their whole retirement around that.
Yeah, people think you're going to get 2 Social Securities. No, you're going to get the highest.
Yeah.
And if your wife was getting the highest, you'll get the highest, but you're losing yours.
Yeah. Or the wife loses hers, and she takes the husband's or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a lot of money. Can be a lot of money for people.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Everything else good?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Oh. There's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, I've seen that Candace Owen.
Yeah, I do my podcast in the afternoons and then on the weekends.
I was going, he's on now? I didn't realize that.
I do over 90 shows a month.
Do you really? Wow. That's 3 a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, it's nuts, isn't it?
Crazy stuff.
It's crazy. All right, and Jupiter Joe Thomas is in studio. You were just telling me, and you're not just an annuity guy, you're a financial advisor.
Right.
and we kind of brush over that a little bit. So, I mean, so you have an expertise with everything that involves being a financial advisor, although you specialize in the annuities, right? But you were telling me about, and there's a lot of these workers at Florida Power and Light and what's going on with their retirement. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so people are given a package right now if you're leaving a job from FP&L NextEra or any company that decides to, get rid of you basically. They give you an option to take a pension, a lump sum. And unfortunately what people do is they choose the wrong option every day. And you can disinherit your wife, your spouse, your kids in one stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
And people just don't understand that it's a big deal not to make the wrong decisions. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And that's what we're an expert in, rolling over the lump sum so that you have access to this money. Your wife will get it, your husband will get it, your kids will get it, and you're not disinheriting somebody.
Well, it's like, a lot of times, have you ever had to call the homeowner's insurance company? Give you a great example. The homeowner's insurance adjuster comes out. They're going to write you a check on the spot.
Yeah.
Is that really that means you're really entitled to a lot more, right?
Absolutely.
So it's the same thing with the pension.
Exactly. You do not want to take the option they're giving you, and it's about control, and it's about making the wrong. Once you make this decision, it's the biggest decision and the biggest mistake that you can make in your life is choosing the wrong option for your family. You know, and that's what we help you do. Even give me an opportunity to show you how this works, so you don't make the wrong decision.
Well, I talk about this a lot because when I'm talking about you is I remember when we first met, I told you I've been hearing guys talk about annuities on radio shows for 30 years, and I mean a lot, and I have no idea what an annuity is and what.
Right.
And really, what an annuity is a lot of things, but it's how you create multi-generational wealth for your family. And by the way, you're not a Kennedy or a Trump, right? You work at FPL, and you make good money working at FTL, by the way. Those guys make good money. But it does create multi-generational wealth.
Sure. People think that you can lose all your money in an annuity. That is not true. That is a fallacy, and we can show you that if you want to leave your family all the money, we do it. Okay,
yeah.
That is the biggest fallacy out there. There's so many fallacies, but that's the biggest one. We're going to lose them. That's what happens in a pension. You lose all your money if you don't choose the right option.
Yeah.
Let us show you how to do that for free.
Yeah. And a lot of times, pensions are not really what they're cut out to be. I hear it's amazing to me the horror stories I hear of people that they work all their life, they think they got this pension, and then something happens in the market, they're not getting money or not as much money. All kinds of crazy things happen with pensions.
If your pension's tied to the market, or worse, let's say it's tied to the revenue that your company generates. If you have company stock, sometimes it's very good, like Publix, and sometimes it's not so good.
Well, oh man, people will be surprised. There's a lot of Publix managers that are millionaires.
Oh yeah, I've got a few of them for clients. Truck drivers, multi-millionaires.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a great career, Publix. People don't realize, and the truck drivers at Publix only work 4 days a week.
Yeah,
and they're all making six figures a year.
I had a guy 40 years been there, giant pension.
Yeah,
and we rolled it over, so he has control of it, and now he's in annuities.
Yeah,
and guess what? He can't lose a penny.
Yeah,
and his wife will get it, his kids will get it.
That's amazing. So and the other thing about annuities, I wanted to talk about. You brought this up last time, but I want to talk about it again, because people have asked me about it, the 15% bonus. But the thing about annuities that, and all these different things we're talking about, every situation is unique, and you may have other goals and things that you want in your life. Because some people, you tell me, they don't even want the income. They don't need it right now.
No, they want growth.
They want growth.
And that's what that bonus annuity is about.
So the bonus annuity, it's a 15% bonus. Can you tell people what this is, how it works, and what that actually means?
Sure. So it's an annuity. You drop in an amount of money, minimum $25,000. We use 100 because it's simple. You put in 100, you're going to get 15,000 in your account day one. Now you have to keep it 10 years, okay? But so what? You're going to have guaranteed income, and whatever the growth of the market is, the S&P index, S&P 500, for example, you get that growth as well.
Yeah.
But you can never lose your principal, Brian, and you can never lose the 15% once it's credited to
and
your
it's
account.
as low as 25,000, but we use the 100,000. That's what because it's easy to do the math.
Make it simple.
Yeah. So you earn that $15,000 on day one.
When we show your account online, when you tap into your account online, you're going to see $115,000.
That's crazy.
In amount. Okay.
So think about that. You go to Joe Thomas. You take advantage of this annuity, and you've made $15,000 on day one.
Now I call it velvet handcuffs. They're tying your money up, right? And they're tying you up for 10 years. But where are you getting $15,000 from your bank, from your financial guy?
And I'll tell you what happens with, and I've seen this happen with so many people. They put their money in the bank, and they always got the checkbook out.
Yeah.
And they're eating away at that principal, and then one day they're broke.
Yeah, and there's no fees on this. There's no annual fee. And how do I get paid? I get a commission from the insurance company.
Not you.
It doesn't come out of your pocket.
So your nest egg is fine. You're not going to lose any money. You get a 15% bonus. Give Joe Thomas a call and take advantage of the no-charge consultation. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And online, JupiterJoe.com. All right, Joe, we'll see you next time. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, please do. The number is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I want to finish up on this Candace Owens thing that I was telling you about with this Putin recruitment. Because I know a lot of people will think, hey, it's no big deal. Who cares? And this is why it's a big deal. All right? This recruitment of Candace Owens is the most public process I've ever seen with something like this, okay? I have never seen such an open attempt to recruit someone. So if they're being so open with Candace Owens, who else are they recruiting? And you just don't know about it. And what's happened is it's with the new media. What's going on, like I'm talking about with Candace and these others, and Rick Sanchez living in Moscow, which just blows my mind. They used to do this with the mainstream media, right? Like the CBS types, right? The New York Times, those kind of people. But they're not relevant anymore. So now these foreign entities are doing that with the new media. All right, we'll take some calls. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Carl, and I'm calling from Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Carl from Port St. Lucie. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. You sparked my memory when you said Rick Chance.
Oh, yeah. See, he's infamous.
You were a little kid, but Brian Norcross was the weatherman when Andrew went through.
Yeah, are you kidding me? I know Brian Norcross. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but yeah. Of course, I know him personally.
And he stayed on the air well into the night until that station went down the drain.
That's right.
Full information all night.
Yeah, I remember.
And that guy Sanchez and that chick he worked with, they were all bent out of shape because he was getting all of these accolades and thank yous and wowies.
Well, that's the least of Rick Sanchez's problem. I mean, that DUI that he got out of, that was pretty bad. That was yeah. I know. Yeah. Was it Sally Fitz? Who was it? I can't remember. Yeah, he's a bad guy. But I'll tell you, he's had so much cosmetic work, you wouldn't even recognize him now. When I saw that he's living in Moscow and working for Putin, I just was in shock. That's how many bridges he's burned, right? He's burned everyone's bridge. And people don't realize how he would, out of every news person that's ever worked in the history of South Florida and the Miami television market, he's the most famous even still today. No one even comes close. Yeah, because he was so infamous. Well, he started out, if you remember, before he was an anchor, he used to drive around at night with the Miami police and a cameraman and cover crime on the spot, and it was pretty exciting. It was like cops, and then these other things happened. All right, hey, listen, Port St. Lucie, I appreciate the call. All right, take care. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Oh, hey, Brian, what's up?
Hey, Ben, how are you? Yes, I grew up with Rick Sanchez, watching him on television. He was the guy.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
He was really the guy. He dominated everything. But, I lost track of him.
Yeah, so did everyone else. He's in Moscow now.
He's in Moscow. I wonder how many people in the Cuban exile community know that he's working.
Well, see, that's what really, it almost makes me wonder, was he really anti-Castro when he was on television down here, right? I mean, I couldn't believe it. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal because I think I kind of doubt that he was as anti-Castro as he said. you know.
Well, if you go, if I put the highlights of the Rick Sanchez interview with Candace Owens on my X, okay, Brian Craig Show. If you watch it, you tell me he's not. He's trying to get her to move there. And you know, you couldn't get me to move to Michigan or New England or New York because I love the Florida weather, although it's kind of dark and rainy today looking. But you know, you look at Moscow. What do you think it's like in Moscow over the winter? It's got to be worse than Michigan. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so what got him to? And he's telling her, "Oh, isn't Moscow a beautiful city, Candace? The art, the culture, and you know, it's the Christian history in Moscow." Now they were in St. Petersburg, and they're talking about. I mean, it was I would think, yeah, I would think, and you know, I wish Steve was here today because I was going to really get. Steve was good friends with Rick Sanchez, personally. They were personal friends. When Steve was on the air at WIOD, and WSVN Channel 7 were right next door to each other in North Bay Village. And Rick Sanchez used to go to Steve Kane's house on the weekends and watch football. And so this was when Rick Sanchez was, you know, the top guy. Yeah. In fact, I can remember when I was Steve's board op, Rick Sanchez would call to talk to Steve during the break sometime. And I'd answer the phone, and it's Rick Sanchez. And he was always a jerk to me. I must say, he was not nice because I was just the board op, you know. But he was not pleasant. But I don't know what they talked about. But he would call and talk to Steve during the break sometimes while Steve was on the air.
Contact with him?
Oh, Steve, no. I told Steve yesterday he was in shock. No, nobody's been in contact with him for. But this is what I was really what you had talked about there. He was such a strong advocate against Castro, and now I'm questioning that. It's like he's gone back home. He's like he's like Kevin Costner at the end of No Way Out, or he's defected, or there's something up with that. It's just it's too now. No, but you know I don't know. Candace Owens doesn't know who he is, and you know, and it's been so long since he's been on TV here. You know, a lot of people don't know who he is down here anymore. But there's something up with that. Like I remember when he was on the local news, he would take trips to Cuba to expose the communist regime down there. So was he really? And was he really anti-Castro?
Site reporting from Cuba when the final fall?
I don't know. He's worked for Putin's Russia Today since 2019, and in 2025 he moved to Moscow. I didn't recognize him. He's had so much work. You know, Steve Kane and Rick Sanchez were such good friends that the same doctor did both their facelifts. I'm serious. Dr. Richard Edison. Yeah. That's how good friends they were. So I'm sorry Steve wasn't here because I was really going to jab him about Sanchez today. Listen, I got to run. I'm so late. I'm very late. All right, let's go. All right. Oh, let's check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with the final gold and precious metals report of the week. William Youngerman, how the metals looking?
Metals looking a little bit lower after yesterday's nice gains. We got an echo on here again?
Yes, we do today. I'm sorry, William.
Okay. Yesterday we saw gold close up $40.50 at $4,474.20. Silver was up $1.14 at $73.76 the ounce. Platinum closed up $38 at $1,893. And palladium was up $15 at $1,296 the ounce. Overnight, we saw gold trade in a range of $44.28 on the low and $44.82 on the high. Currently at $44.45, that's down $29.40. Silver down $1.34 at $72.45 the ounce. Platinum down $4 at $18.89, and palladium up $15 at $1,311. That's pretty much where we've been trading. Still in the same ranges we've been in for quite a while. And until we break out of these one way or the other, it's been a pretty boring summer.
Yeah, well, hey, no, I mean, at the numbers we're at, to me, it's exciting. I mean, I still every time you give the numbers, no matter what they are, I get goosebumps. I can't believe they're this high. You know, it's amazing. Listen, William Youngman opens up at 10 a.m. Stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. Or you can give him a call toll free, 800-327-5010. 800-327-5010. All right, William Youngman, we'll talk on Monday. All right, you take care. You take care. Do we have a break? Okay, we'll be right back.
The cold, hard truth. Delivered morning 6 to 9 right here on The Steve Kane Show.
Hi, Reporter here. We are Reporter Roofing, a family business since 1983. You are our customer. In other words, our boss. We are here for and because of you, not the other way around. The 2026 rainy season is upon us. Because we haven't had a hurricane in 2 years, all the storm chasers.
Are you happy the way I cleaned up the lobby?
Yeah, it's much better.
Last Friday I said to Dick, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
So many doors.
It's much better.
I got rid of all the ones that were like freebies anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's
See, when he bought the station, he dumped a lot of shit.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's
A lot
yeah.
of it was in the morning shift.
Mhm.
And it was just impossible. You were doing like, it was like 6 minutes of...
Yeah, it was
It's crazy.
yeah, it's
So,
much better
it should
now.
be way
It's
better.
much better now.
And now, weight loss places on
Every other week. Yeah.
604 or 602 or on the web at LaportaRoofing.com.
Hello, this is Mike at Friendly Tire. I've been in business 30 years at the same location and offering great deals on new and used tires. I have many suppliers. Whatever car or truck you have, I can get you incredible deals on any tire. I also do tire repairs at very low prices. Give me a call. My number is 954-977-9445. I will give you a price over the phone on new and used tires. Again, my number is 954-977-9445. Thank you.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show is on the air.
All right, callers on hold, stand by. You know what men neglect more than anything? Now, women, you may disagree, but I think you'll. You know what they going to the doctor, getting health checks? Because it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like if I don't go and get checked out, I'm not going to have a heart attack. Well, the opposite is true. You know, and wives and children, the greatest Father's Day gift you can give the dad in your life is to take him to Life Imaging FLA and get the heart scan and the cancer screening to make sure he's here for many Father's Days in the future. You know, the heart scan only takes a few short minutes. You don't have to get undressed or anything. I kept the way I'm dressed now is what I was wearing. I went in there and I started to take things off. They said, what are you doing? You know, what I mean is I wasn't getting naked. I was about taking off my watch. I didn't have to take off my watch or anything. And it only takes a few short minutes. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250, say free heart scan. All right? Okay, to the phones we go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian?
Yep. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, John from Boca.
Hey, John, what's up?
Not much. Listen, Brian, there's so many things to talk about, but I wanted to at least thank you for another sponsor, and it was the man you last talked to, William Youngerman. I had a nice gold necklace. I wanted to go get a price appraisal, see what it was worth. I just wanted a reason to go in there because he's been with your show so many years. He wasn't in office yesterday, but John and Davey did a great job. They offered me a more than fair price. I was so happy when I left. And once again, you never let me down when it comes to your sponsors. So much so, we brought up the topic, and it kind of escaped my mind. When you started out with the gold report, it was what, $400 an ounce? $435 an ounce. And it was right after Hurricane Wilma. So if you find out when that was, you'll know. Maybe 09 or something, but it was $435 an ounce when he started with us. Yeah. 10 times. Could you ever imagine it could have gotten this out of hand? That's over $4,000.
No, I wouldn't have left that day without gold in my pocket if I knew it was going to go to over 4,000 on that day. No.
Again, William, a great place.
He is.
What a great price on jewelry. You go to William Youngerman, and you're right about Rick Sanchez. I remember him from Channel 7 with Sally Fitz, and he was always the man on the street with the white shirt on, and then always reporting the top stories and everything. I can't believe what has happened to this man over the years.
Well, what I was talking to the last caller, for Rick Sanchez to be working for a KGB man, Putin, and he's been working for him for 7 years, and he lives in Moscow. It really is like the spy who came in from the cold. I mean, it's the complete opposite of what he was doing with Castro down in Miami. And now Rick Sanchez is probably one of the biggest screw-ups in the history of television. So, I mean, maybe it's just out of desperation, but it's hard to believe that someone who was such a vocal anti-communist as he was would be working for a KGB man in Moscow right now. And he moved there. It's just, something's up with that. It's very strange.
It's unbelievable. And they still counting votes in California. Is this nonsense going to go on?
No.
Doing the real vote?
Yes, it's California.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, yep.
Great job on the show as always.
All right. This is the only show where callers do spots. All right. Now, if you're on hold, stand by. Today the weekend begins in 4.5 minutes, right? Doesn't everyone's weekend begin at 9 a.m. on Friday? Absolutely. With the weekend, though, if you have aches and pains, go see Dr. Appleton. Let me tell you, Dr. Appleton has really given me my life back because all these aches and pains that are gone, I would have all of them. The arthritis in my hand, my shoulder pains from my skateboard accidents, my knee pain from my car accident, and I would still have all those pains. And I feel great. I have more energy. I've got my life back, and I do things I never would have been able to do before. In fact, I'm doing some work around the house that over the weekend, there's no way I would have even attempted it because I wouldn't have been able to reach my arms up to do it with the shoulder pain. Walk-ins are welcome. Appointments are never necessary at Dr. Appleton's, even on Saturdays, and the consultation is free. Go see him, talk to him about his robotic laser away pain treatment. Remember, there's no shots, no injections, no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Tony from the Villages.
Hey, Tony. What's up?
Hey, I went to high school with Rick Sanchez, and he was an idiot in high school.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
He thought he was God's gift to humanity, and thought he was a big shot. And
well, he was a big shot. He was a big shot for a while. He was.
Yeah.
But he blew it.
He blew it, but I was shocked yesterday because I was thinking about him yesterday, and I researched him on Willie Picchia before you had your podcast, and I was shocked. And then when you brought him up on your podcast, I couldn't believe that we were thinking about the same guy.
No, it was crazy, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was he was a big screw up. I mean, let's not get around it. I mean, that DUI story. And I can't even tell you guys on the air the whole story about it. I told Mike the board op during one of the breaks the whole story. I mean, it's crazy. But he was a very, very vocal anti-Castro, anti-communist. So how can he be in Moscow working for the KGB guy Putin right now? There's something it just doesn't compute.
Yeah. I don't know if his wife's over there.
I don't know.
For kids, I don't know what happened.
He did. I remember when I don't know if his wife's with him or not. He didn't mention the wife. Watch the clips of him on my ex with Candace Owens, and you call me next week. Tell me he's not trying to recruit her. It's one thing for Russia Today is where a lot of people go that have burned every bridge, but he actually moved to Moscow. That's a whole nother level, moving to Moscow.
Yeah, no. When he's from Florida and he's been in the tropics all his life, he's in Siberia.
Well, what I'm wondering is, was he ever an anti-communist? I don't know. It's just you know what I mean about how out of character it is, and you can tell he hasn't been on the air down here for almost maybe 27, 28 years, and still I'd get calls all day talking about Rick Sanchez. That's how people that don't. It's like OJ. You had to live through it. People don't realize how famous he was and infamous. And this is
Leopard doesn't change his spots.
Remember when he was on the wiretap with that with the criminal? Make it yeah.
So Alberto San Pedro. You ever hear of it?
Yes, that's exactly. Thank you. You remember the name? Yes, that's exactly who. Listen, we're out of time, but yeah. All right, take care. By the way, is the Villages really all that sleazy, like they say? Is it a sex place for old? Okay. All right, take care. Gotta run. All right, we'll see you Monday morning at 6 a.m. Take care. All right, guys, listen, I gotta run. But thanks for listening. Make sure you like the video, guys, all right? Take care. I gotta make room for them and get out of here. I'll see you over the weekend.